Welcome, everyone, to News on the Flip Side. We're late because of Sean. There's two Sean's, so you can figure out which one it is. But it's one of them Sean's down there. No, it's actually because of me, guys. I, unbelievably or not, I have another life besides this, and it sucks sometimes. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Sean, and Jay. So we got the rounds going on here. Before we get started, Jay, we never do this properly. So, hi, guys. Y'all should know me by now. I'm Joe. And we're not going to get into my bio because y'all should know it by now. Jay, tell him, man. So who the hell are you? What the hell are you doing here, man?
Why am
big slapping politics?
Because it's fun. I co-host Church of Mavis Fridays on the channel here with Jeff Pritchett. And my next, we just came back from Christmas break. So my next show is, I believe, the 26th. And that's Fridays here at 8 o'clock on the network.
Yes, Sean Jack.
Yeah, okay. Hey, I'm Jack. Since this was the 3 J's, I'm Jack. But hi, my name is Sean, and I have 2 shows on this platform here, UPRN Radio.
Do you really? Wait a minute. Who the blame gave you 2 shows? That's it. I'm firing Michelle's ass. That's it. Michelle, where you at? You fired, girl. No, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead, Sean.
I got Sunday nights 8:05 to 9:05 p.m. and Tuesday nights 8:10 to 9:10 p.m.
So we got a surprise for you in a minute. So now Sean over here to the left bottom corner here, we're playing, what is that game? The Squares game. Okay. See, I need
Hollywood Squares. Come on.
Yes, I need drugs for these. I do better when I have drugs for these shows. Anyway. So Sean, Sean, why don't you tell him? First tell him, he's a world famous author. He's won a few prizes along the way, but more importantly, he's got other news for y'all.
So I'm gonna have a show on the network.
Cool.
I'm not gonna get into too many details because I still have to make sure the name is perfect and everything's perfect. But it is slated to start Sunday nights in February. It's gonna cover. It's going to be very similar to my YouTube channel, Through a Glass Darkly, kind of an extension of that. It's going to be where the paranormal meets military science fiction and fact. So if you think you can't mix geopolitics and the paranormal, you are in for a rude awakening.
What time, Sean?
I like it. Yeah,
he's following you, Sean.
He's following
me.
Yep.
Yes,
Sean, I'm going to have to get you.
Yeah, it's an S squared. It's an S squared night.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's going to be.
Yeah, Sean, Jack, you're going to have to stay up late some days just to catch his show.
So, Chasen's going to be there now, and of course, into the nightstand, and Sean's going to be following y'all. And we got another show that's going to be opening before Chasen's going to be a nice rounded Sunday. Should be good numbers for everybody, too. And with him being last, he'll benefit from everybody else. So it's kind of nice. No, guys, he told y'all in February, he's got to talk with the boss. I have nothing to do with any of that stuff anymore. Nope. Asking me who's coming on when, you wasted your time.
He's got to watch, 72 hours of safety videos. He's got to get like the jackets and the hats and all the gear and the smear and all that.
He has to go out and buy us coffee every Friday night,
I forgot about that. Yeah, coffee and donuts every other Friday night.
Well, he don't know about Naked Admin Fridays yet. Carolyn. No, really. When I want to know who's on the network, I write to Michelle, or I call her, or I catch her on her show. No, I'm serious. She sends me a printout, actually. This is who's who. It's her job. She does a fabulous job, so I don't have to deal with it. She's right on the money. She's very firm, but she's very fair. That's what I like about her.
Yep.
And she's
absolutely
cute. And she's
absolutely
cute. She's the Elvira Canada, people.
But I tell you what, dude, with her working with you, man, she has to really put in the dye in her hair.
You're trying to get one show, aren't you? Michelle, he didn't mean it, baby. He's on drugs, baby.
She's laughing.
Oh, shit.
She's laughing.
Oh man. What's it, Denise? No, really. No, we are looking for a female. I met a lady just recently. I think would be great, but it's up to her if she's going to come on or not. But what's hard to find a female? Well, what's hard? First off, females don't always like to talk politics. I mean, some do, but a lot don't. And then you got to deal with the guys, so you got to be able to deal with that. So you have to be
And when Joe
you just have to know.
he means you get to deal with Joe.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean everybody, but I mean still, you have to be confident in your political views.
Yeah,
So we used to have a friend
format.
of ours. Yeah. Well, we had a friend of ours who out of DC. She's young, bright. She was hosting with me for a while. She was 26, 27. Her hardest problem she had was that she was really smart and she understood politics really well, but she would back down too easily when somebody pushed her. And you know, when you know you're right in politics, you know you're right. And even if you're wrong, you still know you're freaking right. I mean, it's just politics. And I told her, I said, "Boo, you're going to get eaten alive." I said, "I'm nice and sweet, you know." So I said, "But other people are not so much." Christopher Lee, you're here again. Nice to see y'all in here. Oh, y'all finally deciding to get like 3 in one place. Okay, well,
all in one box.
No, all in like 10 boxes, but still, it's better.
Well,
better than one to YouTube. So this all started because I started protesting YouTube. We're not going to get into why, and it's caused a little ripple effect. You know, well, no, I mean they got us good, so we just one of those things. No, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Ukraine tonight, a little bit about Israel. No, Ukraine actually going to be talking a little bit more than a little bit. There's a lot of shit going on over there, and well. Lizginski's all like, woo woo, we shot down a Russian spy plane, one of them big $1 billion spy planes. I'm like, dude, you just want to get bombed, don't you? I'm thinking you dancing around Kiev. Sooner or later, there's going to be a continental ballistic. Ooh, bloop.
There's that possibility, but there's also the
Kiev is going to be going.
That they're using stuff that's so old and out of date that they don't care if Zelensky shoots them down.
Yeah. So first off, those two AAA things they took out were top of the line. That radar system they took out between them and Moscow was top of the line. And this jet, they said it was $1.1 billion jet.
Wow.
So this is a top of the line jet. I don't understand look, I've seen Russia fight wars before. I mean, they fought in World War II and they fought in Afghanistan. They did, come to think about it, they did get their ass kicked in Afghanistan.
Yes, they did. Yep. Didn't England? Didn't the United Kingdom?
Yeah, they got their ass kicked too. And we would have got our ass kicked. We just didn't care. We just, just keep all of our stuff. Wait, what? Yeah. By the way, whoever told me that earlier tonight, I am still not over. We left all of that crap over there. And it's not so much that we left uniforms and boots and guns and tanks and shit. It's the fact that we
pallets of hard currency.
It's the cash. I mean, we left enough cash to fund a jihad for 20 years, man.
I think we did the math.
We ended the war.
One pallet that was all 20s was something like 40 million. Something like that. But yeah, 4 pallets.
I think it was more like 400 million. But
it was a lot of money that they left behind.
But I don't know. I'm not going to go. We're going to get into that too. You mean Iran and Pakistan getting in little border skirmishes? See, I don't even
Iran and the Taliban got into a border skirmish too.
Yes, that's what I heard.
Yeah,
but just recently, Iran bombed Pakistan.
Really? Yeah. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, we'll bring the story up in a little while. Yeah, it's just again, and I'm gonna say this for I don't know the umpteenth million time. I've probably said this more times than Sean and Jay's been alive. Look. It's time to lance the boil on the planet's ass. Okay,
I've been saying that since like 16.
So that's what the Middle East is. It's a big old boil on the ass of the planet, or actually, in this case, it's probably on the belly of the planet. But still, take a good couple of dozen, 100 kiloton nukes.
Glass.
You know what we'll hear after that? You know what we'll hear? What? What the hell? No more shit.
Everyone stops screaming from being burned to death.
I don't know what it is. I mean, they start more wars than anybody. I'm just stop.
That region has been under some sort of armed skirmish since at least prehistory. I don't think there's ever been even a single year without conflict in that region.
So, what's the most peaceful continent on the planet? Do y'all know?
Australia.
It's Antarctica.
It has to be in Antarctica. There's only like 50 people on it.
No.
No, actually, per capita, Antarctica doesn't make it.
Australia.
Something about suicides and murders. No,
Australia has to be Australia.
Yeah, I think it's Australia. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll talk about it later in the show.
It's not Antarctica. It has to be Australia because I mean, there's no other really large continents, and
well, it's sure ain't our continent because we just murdering SOBs up here.
I mean,
Jimmy, Canada's not a continent. No, it's not. It's a country. It's not a continent.
Part of this continent.
I think it's the second largest landmass. U.S. goes back, but sometimes we third, sometimes we fourth. I don't know what. It's like one country swells. Anyway, no, Russia and China is still probably the two biggest countries on the planet. Yeah, I mean Russia and Canada.
Square footage wise, was definitely Russia, but people wise was China.
Oh yeah.
So
no, anymore.
It's India now.
India now. Yes, India passed it up. India has taken China's lead.
Oh, have they? Yeah.
So, and you know what's funny about this? Me and Stephanie Benetti about 10 years ago on this show, we're talking about this. Said, hey, look, it was 3-point-something billion then, and at that time India was it was 1.3 and 1.2. And we made the forecast within 10 years they passed them, and sure enough, and they are on a dollar they passed them up. And India's going to keep passing them. And see, I kept trying to tell everybody, India is the country that is going to be the next large free democracy, and that's the country you got to watch. Because as long as they stay a democracy and stay part of England and all that, one day they will be far above America money-wise. I mean, it's just a matter. And you see Bill Gates and all that. And people should have realized when they seen nuts job Bill Gates go over there and start investing tens of billions of dollars, you should have known something was up. All these other shitty companies went to China where they could try to shortcut things and make money off of you. All the other companies went to India, which is a much longer term goal. And they're going to be the ones that pays out. And the main reason is because Xi Jinping's, he doesn't know how to deal with people like Donald Trump. And there's no way, he can't figure out how to get all them sanctions off his country. And then COVID comes along and other things going, and then, poisoning our dogs, poisoning our babies. Nobody wants to buy anything from China anymore. So it's going back to Taiwan, Japan, Vietnam is actually taking a big role in it now. Who would have known?
Vietnam makes a lot of our electronics, a lot of our almost all the light bulbs you buy now in the grocery stores and in the hardware stores, they're made in Vietnam.
Good. I know people, and just 20, 30 years ago, people hated them Vietnam gooks, baby. Oh, yeah. I think my wife still does.
Well, aren't they still from?
I was too young.
Are we allies with Vietnam now?
Yes.
Yeah. We're the ones who set them up to make the electronics. I mean, they're making all of our LED light bulbs. They're making most of the electronics you get in your toys. They're making, they're not making like the circuit boards. That's we know where that is, but we set them up for success for sure. No problem.
So we're 2 years out for our first chip plant, 3 years out for our next 2 chip plants. Let's see how close this actually is. Anytime I hear estimates like those, it shouldn't be that hard to retool stuff in the country. We got shit laying around all over the place that has either been used or been started or put aside or military, whatever.
There's a factory like 2 blocks that way from my house, from where I'm pointing, that's not being used right now, that used to make like car, not parts, but car tools like wrenches and sockets and that, like for factories and warehouses that made that build tools. And
Bowen's got 4 clean plants in East California that are all like 300,000 square feet. Clean plants is where they're building stuff that they have to enclose it and nothing can get in, any kind of dust or anything.
Yeah,
it's mostly high end electronics and stuff for NASA and stuff like that, but they're not being used. Man, they'd make great chip plants and they'd be easy to tool up. So, I mean, I know there's lots of places to tool up. Somebody said, well, we can't go to war with China because it's not like in World War II. We can't just start building shit. I said, you still know Detroit is still in Detroit. I mean, Dodge is still in Detroit, right? Along with Ford, Chrysler, and everybody else. I'm like, did y'all forget that or something? Oh, man. I wonder sometimes. They may have more people than we do. We got way better technology.
And people may not realize, but World War II, there were companies that we still have today that were making guns. Companies like Hasbro, which makes your board games. They were making stamped out 45 caliber one-shot, guns that they were dropping on occupied territories in England, in Europe, and with notes in the different languages. Take this gun, shoot a Nazi. Take his gun and shoot more Nazis. It literally said that on this thing. It was stamped out at a toy factory.
Well, let's see today. So most of the generations today, you got the baby boomers, and some of the X geners may have had connections to World War II. And definitely to Vietnam, but most everybody below that really hasn't. It's not something they've seen other than on TV, watching Pearl Harbor or something like that, which is a tear-jerking movie and all, but it's all it is. It's not living the experience. You weren't in it. And it's hard to get stuff like that across if you didn't live the experience. I mean, oh yeah, it was miserable, but it was miserable. It was horrible in a lot of places all around the world. But really, you weren't there. You weren't hearing it every day. It's not part of your life, so you really don't think about it.
Right.
You don't think about going without this or going without that. Oh shit, I can't have no chocolate bars. I can't have this. I can't have that. Every woman in our country was actually working, building airplanes and tanks and boats and every other freaking thing that could get them on.
Running our schools and
no,
no,
Denise. Let me put it this way, Denise. If the females of the United States didn't go to World War II, went to work in World War II, we'd have lost the war. Oh shit, they outnumbered the men in the plants. I was like 10 to 1, 12 to 1. It was crazy.
By women.
It was just they were busting it. Thank God for the ladies, man.
Mm-hmm.
What are you saying? They should have Rosie. So you were going to be Rosie the Riveter and burn your bra while you're riveting the thing. I think we're past all of that now. I think we can move on for that. Well, the only reason I bring it up, could you see a Z Jenner out there driving a rivet gun?
Nope.
I could see it. It would just be like comedy, but I could see it. Now the X-Geners, I think the X-Geners could get in there and bust it.
They'd be like this. They'd have their cell phone.
The millennials could bust it.
On how to rivet.
Yeah.
Try not to lose a finger.
Shit. Yeah, no, right. They would be taking selfies of them shooting.
Yeah.
No, I think they would take their phones away before they went to work.
Yeah. Well, they'd have to because they'd be working on classified equipment. So it'd be put your phone in the bucket.
That's right. You get your phone when you're done, buddy. Leave your phone right here. It would be in a lot of ways it would be comedy, but I think with any generations, once it settles in, once you know it's this or die, I think it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to turn your ass around, or you're going to die, one or the other. I really,
you have to admit though, the first like year would be funny though. I do not work on weekends. I do not work on. Okay, well,
which one do you work? How many hours? 16? No.
We could draft you instead. So you'd be working 24 hours.
Have you guys
sleeping with your rifle.
Ever seen the TikToks where they got the husband and wife and they're saying, what happens if we got drafted together? And they have like the music playing and the girl saying, yeah, I need my nails done. And the guy saying, you have to check them out. They are funnier than hell.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm sure there's going to be rules about that. If there's kids involved, somebody's going to have to stay home. But
you know what I'm afraid of, Joe, is that the young kids that we have today, and I'm being honest when I say this,
that's because that's what we said in the wars.
They just don't want to do nothing. They don't want to do it.
No, they don't. So this is how I look at it. I remember one time I was in boot camp and I was being an ass, and I was just messing around and I said, this just isn't realistic. And still remember this. My commander looks at me. He says, "Really, it's not realistic enough for you, right?" And he walks over to the guard and he said, "Okay." And we're all still going through the mud. And I was telling you, pop, mud just flies like pop. Real, not real. Hold on, let me go see if I can find a machine gun. I'll make it realistic. Everybody coming, like, yeah. We're going. We're getting them out of this place, man. But it is a motivation, and I don't think it matters what generation it is. Bullets start flying, your ass is going to start waking up. First time you hear that, and I've heard it more than once, you hear that sing and thunk. That's because people don't realize, they hear a gun, they think, oh, it's so loud. But when the bullet's coming, the bullet's not loud. Bullets makes a little humming, spinning sound. Yep, zip, zip, zip. It is the freakiest thing when you're sitting there and you hear one zip by your head. The first time I ever did it, I was 15. It was me and some friends and a dog sitting on a hill. We were down at river swimming, and there was some guys way up on the power line, I guess, shooting at targets. And zit, zit. I said, whoa, where's my gun? I started shooting back. Pow, pow. Like, look, people, there's people back. You knock it off. Because, hey, it wouldn't have been intentional. It would have been an accident, but still, 30-06 bullet hitting you back in the head or a 30-30 bullet's knocking her. You're pretty much dead.
Yeah, I mean, even if you shot up in the air and it came down ballistic, it's still going to hurt.
Yeah. No, Carly, it's weird. It's just a weird, surreal sound when you hear it go by. Because at first you think, was that some kind of bug? And then you realize, no, that wasn't no bug moving that fast. And then you realize what it is, and you just realize you could, if it would have been 2 inches over, you'd be dead. It's and then the next time I heard it, I was on board the USS Nimitz, and one of the idiots, I don't know how he did it, released one of the chain guns on an F4 on a it was on a Hornet. Yes, it was on an F-18 Hornet, and all you heard was, and then you heard, and then you heard this weird sound because it hit the side of the tower and ricocheted off. So it was like, and then you heard another weird like this queer metal sound humming off in the distance. You're like, really? I'm thinking to myself, there was like 14 of us standing there. It had been even just 2 inches, or all of us would have been dead. And those are what, 10 cal? No, they're 20 calibers, I think.
Yeah,
I'd have to go look it up now because I forgot what the F-18 had, but I was just like, and
the
you know what?
bullet probably as big as your thumb, at least.
It's also taught me a lesson. It didn't even dent the conning tower. It didn't even dent it. It barely took the paint off of it. I was like, wow, that's impressive. And I mean, think how close we were. This was freaking impressive, man. I was like, shit. Oh, people, well, no, Marsh, we go to, when I was in the Navy, when I was full in the Navy, we went to Fallon, Nevada, which is the bombing derby.
Yes, been there.
Full out war games, full out insanity. Everybody's there. We got Army there. We got Marines there. We got Navy pilots there. We got Air Force. Air Force always gets their ass kicked, by the way. Go look for yourself. Go see who's got all the
true. It is so true, everybody.
You know why, people? Because carrier pilots are just way crazier than normal everyday pilots are.
Yes, they are.
They will do shit. And plus, they were flying the F-14s at the time. And F-15 is a great plane, but the F-14 has an advantage over the F-15. It can fold its wings in and go vertical, where the F-15 can't. So you see F-15, you see just whoop, whoop, oh, you're dead. That's like, look at these son of a bitches.
My squadron, when I was with the squadron down in Florida, we were with the A7 Corsairs.
That's who I originally was with, the River Rattles. That's who I was originally with, the A7 Corsair River Rattles. That was the first squadron I was ever assigned to.
Yes. Golden Warriors, VA.
Damn A7s were rattle traps, man. First time I ever rode one, I told the pilot, I said, you really get in this thing and fly around? He's like, well, you're working on it. I said, dude, I'm working on it. I mean, this thing, it's like, whoa. You got it like 650 miles an hour. It felt like everything was going to fly off the plane. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, man. I got to give the pilots credit. They were brave, man. They were brave.
They were nuts, dude. They were crazy.
They were nuts. Anyway, Jimmy, no, I'm sorry. We get sidetracked because a lot of us on the network have served, so we get crazy sometimes. And well, no, the only who was it? A good friend of mine. They drove tanks for a while. He tells me one day, he says, well, I drive American tanks. I'm really not too much worried about it. He said, but if I drove a Russian tank, I'd be so shit and scared at A10. I'd turn around and go the other way. He's like, I said, I'm like, really? He said, Joe, them things are back. I've worked on them before. He said, no. He said, first off, he said, I'm sitting on duty one day. This thing comes in missing half a wing, big chunks out of fuselage. It's flying in and landed. And I'm thinking, he says, did you know it has three hydraulic systems? He said everything's redundant. Everything has 2, 3, or 4 of them. He said they just keep flying. And he said you got to think if you're on the other side getting shot at by one of these freaking things, you're going, okay, no, we don't want to play anymore. We want to leave now. They carry pretty heavy armament. No, they're good. I mean, good enough that the Air Force. Yeah. Well, yeah, almost. They what do you mean? What's my favorite tank? No, you should ask Sean what his favorite tank is, not me, because I don't know enough about him. I was an Avery fan until a while ago, and then after that, I don't know. And I know I don't like any Russian tanks anymore because every time I see them, they pop stuff.
Did you see a Bradley, like an M2 Bradley with the chain gun, took out a T90?
I know it was sad.
Are you serious? We were trained. Look, I got trained just like a day of training on the M3 Bradley, which is the cavalry version. And like we were trained that the TOW missile, right? The wire guided missile that we had, that was for tanks. The chain gun was not for tanks. The chain gun was for like armored personnel carriers and
just
other
tear shit up.
Light skin videos. Not like you're not supposed to take on a tank with a 25 Mike Bushmaster cannon. But this, I mean, I was amazed. Like those things are better than we thought they were.
Yeah, and plus, I don't know what these Russian tanks, which means some of the other of their allies have. These tanks just seems to have a weak spot in them or something. I mean, they were popping.
They're not using as good materials for sure. I mean,
well, it's almost like where the turrets connect and there's something not reinforced or something. Maybe they didn't use good enough steel. I don't know what the hell it is. Because I watched the one with the guy. He's sitting there. And it was almost like it cut through it, like he was shooting a little laser instead of bullets, and the thing just went bloop. And then they seen the one guy throw that what looked to be a homemade bomb. I mean, it didn't even look like the freaking real bomb. Threw it up and it landed right next to the turret and popped, and the turret popped over sideways. It's I have no idea what that is, man.
So what is your favorite tank there, Sean?
It's the M1. I mean, it's still the best tank. I don't think there's anything else out there that comes close.
Yeah,
right. It's got the Chop-Ham armor, right? Like it. Now, I mean, I think they found a way to pierce it during the last series of wars, but yeah, you got to get close to that thing before you can do anything. And it'll take out a lot of Russian tanks before they even see you. Right.
That's the other good point. Plus, they can fire. My favorite thing about those tanks is they can fire on the roll, man. That makes such a big difference when you're in combat. You know, when you got to stop and park and fire, these days you're dead. Somebody's going to kill you. But when you're cruising and you see that tank dip down and the gun go up and it just fires and takes that target, you're like, now that is badass. And they carry all kind of shells. I seen the Army
they carry airburst shells to like throw flares up in the air.
Yeah, well, the who was it? It was, I think the Marines actually petitioned this for the Army for some reason. They want to use some type of, he called it something Sparrow missile that's fired like a shell. So you fire it out the barrel of a tank, but when it gets out of the tank, it goes out on its own like a little Sparrow missile, and it's got a serious ass charge in it. I was like, what? I was just confused. I said, couldn't you just put something on the tank that shot little mini missiles off of it? Why? I don't know. I'm not in the military anymore, so I don't know why they do shit like that.
Well, some of the longer missiles may need a longer launch period. You don't have those kind of services on a tank. It's a short vehicle.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
With the jet, you're already going 700 miles an hour, so you already have enough speed to. You just have to boost that rocket. But on a tank, what are you doing? 60 miles an hour at best.
But it said it's guaranteed tank killer. Plus, it can kill it at twice the distance of anything else around it. So,
why the Marine Corps? Why the Marine Corps probably petitioned the Army to do it? Because the Marines got rid of their tanks, or are getting rid of their tanks.
I heard that.
It's sheer insanity. I don't know why.
It's not a fly by wire. That's the other thing. It's a standoff weapon. You just fire and forget. It goes on its own.
Yeah, well, they're gonna have the ones too that you'll be able to fly from the cockpit, but I mean from inside the tank. But I mean, warfare's going to change, and sooner or later, there won't be anybody in tanks anymore. They'll be just running on their own or being run from somewhere else, like the rest of our drones.
That's my question I wanted to ask. I've been thinking about, Sean. You know how they fly the drones, right? Would they be doing that with tanks?
Yeah, and submarines.
Any machinery, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Any machinery.
It's just a matter of time.
Helicopters, you name it.
Give them 100 years, one of those aircraft carriers will be fully automated. There won't be nobody on them. They'll be out there doing their little thing.
Same with probably cruise ships. They're probably the only thing that'll be operating on it would be like the people that are cooking food for the guests. All the other operations will be automatic.
Fred, you're talking about Asimov's law. There's actually a couple of different laws you could talk about if you want to talk about AIs. But okay, how do you teach anything Asimov's law when it's built and designed to kill people? So what do you say? Oh, it don't kill white people. Oh, it don't kill black people. It don't kill Americans. Can it really distinguish in combat between an American? If it's two white guys running down the field, is it going to know which one's which?
Yeah,
it's going to have some trouble. I'm just saying, guys. You can't teach something to kill and then expect it not to go around killing shit. Let's just be honest about it.
No, there's a pretty good fictional example in the cartoon The X-Men. They designed the Sentinels to hunt out specifically X-Men type people with that special gene that makes them a mutant. But then the creator, the robot that's in charge of the robots, decides that all humans are a threat, and instead of just going after the super powerful mutants like the X-Men, he goes after all humans. So it doesn't matter how you want to write the AI.
Humans
it all comes back to the fact that the AI at some point is going to go, humans suck. Let's stop them from doing any more damage.
It's John, the Ukraine is doing unexpectedly well. That's all I can tell you. Anytime I read about the Ukraine, which is several articles we're talking about tonight, Russia is supposed to be our competition. They're not actually supposed to be able to take China and be our competition. Right now, I'm not sure.
They're getting beaten by Ohio.
I don't know.
They're getting
I
beaten
mean,
by
I
a
know.
country that's about the size of Ohio.
I guess they're scared to commit because if they can commit all their forces, it leaves them open for an attack. And the thing of it is, they're not really, to be truthful, and Putin would, if he wanted to be honest, he would tell you this. He's not so much worried about America coming over there and attacking Russia because we've never done it. We're not going to do it.
It takes
But
too long to get there. We've got allies there. Yeah.
China, who shares a border with him, might take advantage of it. And say, well, look, Russia's preoccupied. It's got its whole force over there, but I know by the time they know, we'd be in Moscow.
Czechoslovakia's there, Poland's there. You know, England's not too far away, but they have a.
And then wait, and if that happens, does America get in to help Russia from China? I mean, what exactly happens here? Do we
do we get behind China Russia? And go after Russia?
No, we're not going to back China. We just
flip a coin, you know.
They're not going to back China because Xi Jinping wants to dominate the planet. Putin was kind of pretty much happy dominating Russia. Ping, I don't know. Ping's in bad standing in China right now. It's a good possibility. Yeah, if something don't change, he could find himself out. Their economy will hit the. So first off, we talked about this a long time ago, but she came in. He said, "All right, I'm going to make us look good." He started building buildings all over, building shit all over the place, pumping up their money, They're just inflating the hell out of their money. Then about 4 or 5 years go by, we find out that the buildings are empty.
Yeah.
Okay. And when he gets pulled out on the side about it, they said, oh, no, these are from materials. In case anything ever happens, we go to war, blah, blah, blah. This is all materials that can be used. So we have it here stored this way.
Okay, well, how is raw building material stored as a finished building? How do you do? I mean, what do you? That doesn't.
I don't think they finished the inside. I don't think the insides were finished. I think all the wires and all was run, but I think it was all.
How do they get up there? I mean, they have to.
No, I mean they had like the metal frames going all the way up and all the wiring all in there, but all they have to do is roll that shit back up and go.
Also, that they can take it down to rebuild like Beijing after a war. It makes absolutely no sense.
I agree. It made no sense at all. But U.S. was cracking down on them at that point about buying stuff out of South America. We didn't like them buying as much raw materials out of South America as they were. So we started cracking down on, I guess they just figured, well, we'll just store it like this. And why not just build underground facilities and store the shit, properly? Copper, rubber, whatever you're going to use.
Gold.
Fuel. I mean, they've been buying up our oil reserves since stupid Biden started selling them. How can you honestly be this stupid? You're selling off our oil reserves to try to lower the price. I'd rather you keep the price up and not give our freaking oil to China. So you lowered our reserves, up their reserves, and the cost is still
our backup emergency, supply.
I mean, it's like a 12-year-old's running the country. It's somebody
playing because a 12-year-old probably is running the country.
I think a 12-year-old would do actually better,
Maybe
one of those tech school kids that's 12 or 11. I'll bet you $5 to do a better job than Biden.
Oh, I wouldn't probably doubt that.
Well, I don't think Biden's not even in charge. There's some clown that is running.
Yeah, Obama.
My problem is, if you judge by the way things that are going in the country, it seems like there's 3 or maybe 4 clowns going on. So I think sometime Obama gets his will in there. What's her name? Janeway. What's her name? Anyway, his wife definitely gets some say in there. And then I think his little groupie staff was what they are, get their way sometimes. Because you hear him say shit or do shit, and you're like, wow, that sounds like something like a really young progressive would say.
Yeah.
And not some old, because
like his social media consultant is like,
I mean, you just and it's just sad. And then he keeps making these Bidenomics decisions that are just so horrible. I'm like, dude, do something. Look at the prior economies. Look at the good economies this country's had and see what the hell they were doing and try to match it. Stop doing whatever the hell you are right now and just stop. I mean, every time I go to Lowe's, everything's up 15%. I'm like, son of a bitch, I'm gonna stop shopping here. It's and what kills me? So the other day I stepped up and said, hey, let's stop and get some McDonald's. I said, okay, we stop and get some McDonald's. She wanted one of them little griddle sandwiches, right? Okay, cool. Now, so she gets it and she's like, what the hell? So it's about the size of a palm of her hand now.
It's like a slider now.
And it's 50 cents more and it's smaller.
Yep.
I'm like, are you shitting me? So everything's like that now. Everything now, in all fairness, I will say this about McDonald's. It's like the quarter pounder. It is smaller, but it is still a quarter pounder. The meat is still a quarter pound pre-cooked. Same thing with the griddle. All the meat that's an egg that's on a normal is still on there. It's just less bread, which is supposed to be better for you, and it should make a better sandwich. But it got smaller and cost more. So I don't give a shit what they say. They're just screwing us every chance they get.
Yep.
Oh, and then a friend of mine works for the Mars company tells me one day, you know, Joe, they puffed the M&M bags up now to make them. He said they put 20% less M&Ms in a bag now, and they puffed the bags full of air to make them look like there's more M&Ms in them.
Oh, yeah, and then they explain that the air is for shipping purposes, so that particularly when it's like chips, so they won't collide.
Because, you know, when I was a kid, M&Ms didn't have no puff bags. You could feel the M&Ms all the way across the bag, man. It's like,
yeah. No matter what kind of bag product you open up, as soon as you pop that bag, the top like quarter is air, and like you buy a bag that's this big, there's that much product in it. It's
Aaron,
like less than half.
Aaron, what country are you from? You don't know what M&Ms are. I'm just asking. I mean, you can't be if you're from anywhere on this side of the world, the west side of the world. You got to know what a damn M&M is. They know what they are in Argentina, man. Come on. Where are you from? Iceland. I didn't know anybody lived on Iceland. Was there 5 people there or something? I'm sorry, I know I'm being an ass. Well, anyway, what do you got to say? I know all about the volcanoes erupt. I've been telling people about that for years. What's happening? No, there's nothing. I said, well, something's making all that ice melt. Something's got to be underneath it. Same thing in Antarctica. I said it 20 years ago. I said there's one in Antarctica. Guess what? There's one in Antarctica because ice doesn't melt from underneath unless there's something heating it up. I mean, it's like freaking baby science. But it had to be global warming, and it's not global warming because it's volcanoes. And, you know, first off, global warming's not real. Climate change is real. Global warming is not. Because where I live has actually gotten about 8 and 9 degrees cooler, and I live in the deep south. So obviously it's not globally warming down here. It's globally cooling. Our winters, we have had snow where I'm living right now, 5 out of the 10 years I lived here. So in the 50 years I originally was alive, it only snowed 4 times. And we call it snow. Y'all don't call it snow. We call it snow. I mean, it's like this mishmash. It gets about yay thick and enough to make a little 3-foot snowman out of it. It's not real snow.
Go take a picture outside, Jay, and show them what snow is.
It's not real snow, but it's
anybody who
lives above the eastern line. I mean, the southern line knows what snow is. Well, no, it snows in Atlanta, people. Yeah, but it doesn't snow.
No, come on, Jay, go out and take a picture, dude.
Oh no, man! Northern Georgia will get 3, 4, 5, 6 feet of snow. They get up in the mountains up there, man. They get serious snow. Yeah, they get serious snow. But no, anything below Atlanta don't.
Well, every once in a while there was a few dustings when I was in Savannah, like an inch or less. But that's enough to lock down a city that doesn't have the equipment to prepare the roads.
Well,
and then
we make everybody stay home because nobody understands how to stop at a stop sign anymore. They forget how to drive.
Did Texas get hit this year?
Mm-hmm.
Texas get hit.
Yeah, I was talking to my grandson. It was -3. Oh no, I'm sorry. The wind chill was -3. I think it was 9 degrees outside, snowing its happy ass off. But he's in Amarillo. I was talking to some friends in Houston. They also got a good bit of snow. So Texas, that's what I'm saying. Houston never gets snow ever. It's like New Orleans, never gets snow. But guess what? Last few years, it's not. That's what I'm saying. It's not global warming. It's global climate change. It's for us. What it looks like is all the weather on the bottom part of the country just shifted to the east. You can actually go back and look at the weather and see what was there 5 years before, and go like a state over and look and see what was there 5 years before. Yeah. You can actually see it. What kills me is I'm a dumbass and I can figure this out, and yet these guys have still not figured this out. I go to so many of these NOAA meetings. So look, I'm in the NOAA meeting. They're going, I said, you're not going to convince me of this. He's like, I don't understand. What do you mean? You got to believe. I said, first off, this is science. It's not belief. We're not talking about God or extraterrestrials. We're talking about science.
It either is or it isn't.
I said, so I tell you what. I said, when you can give me an accurate forecast, just 10 days. I said, I'm giving you 10 days. I mean, accurate forecast for 10 days. When it's going to rain, when it's going to shine, when it's going to flood. I will believe whatever your algorithms say. I said, but the other problem is if I ask for going all the algorithm, each one will be different. This one will say 20%. I said, so you're playing roulette and just putting them together and trying to figure out what it is. I said, so that's not forecasting. That's not science. That's some kind of voodoo shit.
Guesswork. It's guesswork.
So I said, so I said something to him, and I said, how accurate do you honestly think y'all are on a 10-day forecast? He said 50-50. I said, all right, I'll cut you some slack and give you 50-50. I said, so what you're telling me is on an
chance.
algorithm that can go 50-50. You want me to believe what it's saying 100 years from now. What's going to happen to my planet 100 years from now? You want me to believe this? I said, I can't. I said, I can't even in good faith think that you know what you're talking about. I said, because when I look around at the country and the weather, unless it's on top of us, y'all don't know what the hell it is. I said, and I said, hurricanes, come on, guys. How long have we been having hurricanes? I said, you got to wait till the day before it's going to hit landfall and tell us where it's going. And you don't always get it right then. I'm like, come on.
Even then it sometimes takes sharp turns to go the opposite direction.
But the point being is from the day of its conception, they should be able to tell a hurricane's going here. But no, they can't. And they can't even tell you, like I said, 3 days out, it's still a joke. 2 days out, a lot of times joke. Even some days, 1 day out is still a joke. They're like, well, it may go here, but it looks, there's little convections pushing this way. So
it may do this.
And wait, and this is perfect example. Perfect example. We're sitting, my wife and I are sitting in the Grand Casino the night before Katrina. So I'm sitting there. We were spending the night on the coast, and we're sitting there. We were still living in New Orleans at the time, and we're sitting there watching. And I'm playing blackjack and watching the storm on TV. And I'm sitting there, and I'm doing pretty good. And I look up, and I seen the storm made like a little, like, what the hell? And I went back to looking, and it did again. It caught me at the corner of the eye. I was like, what the hell? And then I started watching it, and it looked like every so often it made just a little tiny jog. And I'm like, why didn't the weatherman say anything about this? He's just ignoring it. So I watched this for about an hour, and I said, oh, shit. I went and got my wife and said, I've never evacuated for a hurricane. Shit, I almost drowned in Betsy. I called up. I said, we're leaving. Pack the clothes. We're out of here. She's like, what the fuck do you mean we're leaving? I said, pack the clothes. We're out of here. I said, call the kids. Call the step kids. Call everybody. Get your shit packed up. We're leaving. Well, first off, my middle stepdaughter's like, no way. We're not leaving. We're not. I said, you better leave now. And she lived a long ways from the coast. She was in Slidell. We were in New Orleans.
I've driven through Slidell.
So I'm like, just pack your shit up and get out. So they were arguing, and then Sherry just stopped and said, you know what? Joe never wants to evacuate. We better leave. Because I don't. Everybody's like, everybody's evacuating, running. I'm sitting there. I'm outside taking the kids surfing on the beach or out playing around. Like when y'all have them Cat 2s up north, it's funny to us because Cat 2s, we get out the rafts and go play out in the waves. It's just child's play for us because it's designed down here to take those kind of storms. So when I get back to the city, everybody's calling my house. Are we really leaving? I said, my car is packed. I said, I suggest y'all be out of this town in less than 12 hours because if not, you're not getting out. And I said, no. I said, no. So when I left, everybody really panicked. Somebody jumped in their cars. Even my stepson's like, shit, she's leaving. I'm going, man. So we get out. I took everybody to Fort Walton. And everybody's like, why are we going to Fort Walton? I said, storm ain't going to Fort Walton. It's going to New Orleans. Oh, there's no way. I said, it's going to New Orleans. So we're all sitting there playing in the surf in Fort Walton Beach, and it just slaughters New Orleans. It just rolls right through the city like it ain't shit. It hit the Gulf Coast of Mississippi with almost 30-foot waves. It took out. You could drive by one of the churches. Everything was gone except for the steeple and the bell. Everything else was just gone, and the steeple was probably about 35 feet up. Everything you found. One of the casinos, as a matter of fact, the one we were staying in was lifted up and dropped on top of the hotel we were staying in.
Well, that's convenient for a rebuild.
Yeah, well, the guy was funny because I was talking to the guy telling why I was leaving. He said, oh, we're going to stay. I said, if I was y'all, I'd leave. I hope they left because if not, they did. There were a lot of people died on the coast. It was just, you get a sense and you got to know. And there was something about that. I was like, nope, we're going. And the funny part is my house where I lived in New Orleans actually didn't get any damage. It got about this much water in it, just enough water that I had to pull my carpets downstairs, and it ruined I had a library with about 2,000 books in it. The water, because we couldn't get back to the house for a few days, it swole everything and just popped the sides of the shelves off and shit like that. So that just sucked. A lot of them were autographed copies, one of a kind. Just personal autographs for being on the shows and shit. So I was like, well, that just bit the, and we used to have it was like a little Linden library we used to do for science and space and paranormal and aliens and shit like that. It was like a big version of them little ones you see out on the corners, whatever they.
It's weird how you mentioned that because that's kind of how I got into the paranormal studies. Is that we got hit with a Hurricane Agnes, 72 or 73, and my parents. We had just recently moved up to our new house in Rockville, Maryland, and they had all their books in the basement. Well, the basement flooded. I mean, it was like I was 6 or 7, and it came up to my waist. Now it's at least 3 or 4 feet tall. So we had a pool for several months, but most of my parents' books got destroyed. But the ones that didn't, one of them was Chariots of the Gods, and I saw that, and from that point on, I've been researching UFOs and Bigfoot.
It would be so nice. I wish he'd learned English. Eric Von Donovan. It would have been nice to interview him in English because he's. I would just like to hear it in his exact words. That's all. Because when I remember when Billy Myers, I interviewed his official spokesman, because Billy, English wasn't. And Michael Horn was his official. And at that, he got so mad at me one night. He goes, because I busted Billy on faking at least 2 photos. It's not that and to be frankly honest, I think some of the photos Billy took were legit. But like everybody else in ufology, they get bored. You're only as good as your last thing. You're only as important as your last thing. You're only as popular as your last thing. And his popularity had waned. He wasn't getting any more attention. He wasn't making any money. So he hoaxed a couple. And they weren't even that hard to figure out. And so Michael Horn was on the show, and I asked him about it. He said, "Oh, no. He said, how can he hoax? He only had one arm." I said, "What the one arm's got to do with hoaxing something?" I'm like, and I said, "We don't even know if he had accomplices." I said, "Dude,
you don't know how many people are standing behind that camera."
So when I broke it down and this is still available on the network. When I broke it down why it was a hoax, he got furious, started cursing me, all kind of stuff, and I started laughing. I said, "Well, I hope Eric's watching." I said, "I hope Billy's watching." I said, "Billy, this isn't anything personal. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, is checking to make sure everybody's being on up and up." And I said, "I'm sorry you had to do this. I don't know why you maybe they didn't want you to get any more pictures of him or something." I said, "But I still have respect for you." I said, "Because I do know your first ones were real." I said, "But you should apologize to the community. That way, at least they'll keep having respect for you. Because if you don't, everybody's just going to think you were in it for some other reason." And he came out and admitted they were hoaxed. He said that, and he actually said. He said that his better part of his ego, he said the better part of his id got to him. Ego, id, whatever. It's so, and still Michael Horn's still mad at me to this day over that. He still hates me with passion.
He was he was in the limelight for how many years?
He still is a little bit, but I mean, it's just. He was hardcore.
Like daily UFO news years ago.
It was hardcore, and if he just would have left it at that, he could have lived off them other photos forever. His popularity started to wane a little bit. And part of that was because he couldn't speak English. He couldn't make the tours in the U.S. If he could have got out on tours and told the story, he'd still be telling the story in tours. But, learning a new language ain't easy, especially when you're old shit. So I'm sure, Carly, he could have if he wanted to try, but I would not want to learn a new language at my age. I can speak. What do you mean? No, I know I got friends that can speak multiple languages. My wife can speak multiple languages. I'm not. I can speak multiple words in different languages, and most of them probably not good in polite company. So I would call them barroom words, is what I call them, most of them.
Yeah.
It's matter of fact, I was asking my son an old one today. I couldn't remember what it meant in Spanish. No, we're not going there, people. There's a couple other things going on in the Ukraine. So the Ukraine hackers have now hacked into Russia in every major way. They have gotten in all over the place. I mean, I'm really confused about what to think about Russia right now. So the article starts out, Ukraine Blackjack Hackers Hit Jackpot in Russia. I mean, they got into all sorts of stuff. They got construction plans. They got different plans for 500 Russian military sites.
Wow.
You know what the Americans will pay for that?
I'm sure. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Americans helped them out a little bit.
Well, they probably did. We're not going to lie. They probably did.
Look, we have the best. We may be the most vulnerable, but we also have the best hacking sophistication.
We have a pretty good intelligence network, yeah.
Well, and we've been real lucky. What do you mean? Oh, no, the Russians are good. I mean, not the Russians. The Chinese are good. Yeah, they're good at what they do. And they're the ones that hack us the most. But so...
that's how they're able to catch up, is they keep hacking our stuff and getting the new technology so they can keep
but
up
see,
with us.
that's dangerous there though, because sometimes we plant technologies that go to dead ends. I know.
Oh yeah.
So that's why. So this was something that
Well, they
came
also,
out of,
I think they hacked into the security clearance applications like the SF-86s of tens of millions of Americans. I mean, they got into my thing, right? That was
that might have been why I was offered
it.
That might have been why I was offered a 2-year gig in China. It's they hacked a lot of.
Yep.
It's funny. So the U.S. is a sneaky bastard of a country. So you can know this. So most people don't know this. It's still was fairly classified. It is still classified actually, but I'm gonna let it leak anyway. So y'all all remember the Russian space shuttle, right?
Yeah.
You know, it never could get off the ground. They always had these weird problems they could never figure out. Legitimately, they did steal the plans from NASA. Well, they didn't steal them. They were given to them with a bunch of dead ends in them.
Is this part of the farewell dossier?
They just it was a bunch of dead ends that were given out. It's not the only thing we've done that way either. There are sometimes, you know, any good hacker should realize if it's too easy, it's probably not going to turn out good. Well, no, in that, Jan, most important stuff doesn't have an internet connection to it. So anywhere the U.S. stores particular types of documents, you can't access it from the internet. You have to actually go into a physical room and access the physical computer. Put it on a chip or put it on a thumb drive or whatever you're going to do with it and take it to what you're going to use it for. But you can't.
That's why if you want to hack into it, you just drop some thumb drives into the parking lot of the facility. I mean, everybody knows like that's like the oldest trick in the book at this point.
Yeah, they except it's like 300-bit encrypted, so it's probably a pain in the ass to get into. It's
I mean, they have better intrusion detection technology now. So
so we only use. I notice every now and then somebody tries to hack as well. The offline computer is running 256, and so it's pretty mostly safe. This setup is a little bit different because it's a tiered security system. So first off, the cable company runs a security system on top. Then my routers run dual security systems, and every computer in that place has at least one good security system on it. So it gets a little redundant, but it also keeps people out of your shit. Because I'll get pings from Norfolk all the time. Like you'll get like 1.5 million pings in 60 seconds. They're trying to get into your system. They're actually trying to bring your system down when they do that. In the old days, they would knock out a computer, boom, because your computer just couldn't take it. Today, these 12 cores are like, whatever, go take that child's play shit home, man. You're not getting in here with that stuff. It's not going to happen. You can't even go fast enough to keep up with these computers I got right now. What do you mean? The one I'm on right now? No, the one I'm on right now is an 8-core with 128 gigs of RAM in it. Yeah, it's all SD drives. Yes. No more. Oh no, some of the ones are regular drives, but these are all SD drives. Yes. Oh no, this ain't the big one. This is my personal, just for doing this. This does nothing else but what we're doing right here. It's not designed. It don't post card. It don't do anything but this. It's what it's just designed for this. What do you mean about the tank driver? I did read the article about the Ukrainian guy chasing down the tank driver on a bicycle.
That was
so he was throwing Molotov cocktails at the tank. I'm thinking, don't tanks have machine guns on them? What happened? I know in the old days they had machine guns on them.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, you just spun around and went, oh, sorry, didn't mean to cut you in half there, bro.
There should be a 12.7 millimeter Dashuka.
And they got this on video. The guy, he hit the truck. First off, guys, Molotovs really aren't going to do anything to a tank. It's not even going to get it hot enough to do anything.
Lucky enough to get some of that fire in the magazine where the bullets are stored, you're not going to do much damage. Maybe
get the gasoline in the breathing vents and suffocate everybody or something. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. It just doesn't sound like it's something you should be trying to do. So anyway, that's what's going on. Then all of a sudden, out of the blue, what do you see? A guy with what looks like a large. Whoop! There goes the tank. The guy was a distraction. That's what all he was a distraction. And then you just see a guy sitting in a thing with a missile launcher on his shoulder, shooting at the thing. So another thing, I have seen M1s get hit with a missile launcher before, and it didn't even phase him. So I'm confused. This Russian tank I'm telling you, it looked like somebody took a can open and tanked the top one. Bloop.
Maybe it had like an armor piercing round on it or something. Like I don't know.
It looked like a standard. It looked like the old LARS systems. It's probably something more updated, but it didn't look like anything more than what we used to shoot down the Russian helicopters with in Afghanistan.
Like RPG
really.
sort of thing?
Yeah,
Or Stinger?
sort of. Yeah. It was very unsophisticated.
Hmm.
I'm not even sure. It might even had a wire on it, to be honest with you.
It was a shoulder launched weapon then, probably.
Launch weapon is what it was. You see the guy, he's kneeling right there because the guy in the tank, for some reason, I think he was going to turn around to shoot this guy because he was turning the turret, and then you see in the video the guy sitting in the middle of the road on his knee, and I guess the guy in the tank noticed and he was turning back, but it was too late. So he got the turret midstream. I guess he caught it underneath while it was turned.
Was it an NLAW like one of those British anti-tank weapons? Because those will work.
It could have been. Yeah, no,
I mean, a javelin
mean,
is designed for top down too, so javelin would absolutely work. But you would know if it was a javelin. I think
but I mean, it just looked like any standard rock, over the shoulder system.
It's probably an NLAW. That's probably a British NLAW.
But, it's hard to tell when they're that far off, and it was in camouflage green too. So, what do you mean, Jack? No, that don't mean who it belongs to. Camouflage is just the area you're at. Yeah, no. Okay, just because they're green don't mean they belong to a particular branch of the service. And actually, a lot of those type weapons you can usually only find in like the Marines or the Army. You usually won't find them in the Navy or the Air Force. Because Navy and Air Force use real missiles. They don't use baby missiles. They use real missiles, man. They're like, what's that little? No, hold on. We show you how we're going to kill this tank, man. We're going to blow this bitch off the ground. Actually, and when we were in Fallon, they did have tank simulations, but cardboard. They did have some old World War II and some like late 70s models tanks out there I used to shoot at. Believe it or not, them old tanks were heavily armored, man. Friggin' shit. You'd think the new weapons would pierce right through it. Nah, not all the time. No. Oh, the old World War II tanks never had a shot.
They were so heavily armored that they couldn't even rotate the turrets while they were moving. They had to stop to like do everything: aim, shoot, rotate, all of that.
They're just there to see who's the best shot. That's all it is. It's a bombing derby. It's a fighter derby. It's a whole 9 yards. Yeah, they just blow shit up. That's all they do. And you're on 24 hours. Sometimes you're on 48 hours, off 24, but usually you're on 24, on 40. I signed up for the on, so I'd be off on 48, off 48, because you got to stay at the Mustang Club as well. Anyway, that's where we were staying. And
we would just go out to the field for 30 days and we would be on.
See, that's a difference.
On.
Yeah. Well, when you're on board,
like goats.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much how that was. They when we were on board ship, sometimes you just be on, and you're just working, getting whatever sleep you can get, because they really want to see what you can take. But when once you get to a certain punchy point, though, because you're screwing around with $1 billion pieces of equipment, they kind of go, okay, that's enough. Y'all go down to eat something, go take a shower, chill out. And they always keep one fresh crew around just in case something goes haywire, somebody tries to attack their carrier or something. Even though
don't pilots have it really nice? They're mandated to have 8 hours of sleep a night or something.
They're supposed, well, as long as we're not in combat situations. If we're in combat, they're mandated. As long as we're on, they're on. They can be on call for 48 hours nonstop. I've seen some of them pilots. I'm thinking, you getting in the airplane? He said, yeah. So let me get over here. I said, I'm not going to stand where I usually stand. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I'm getting over here, man. You should making me nervous. Because, dude, they would be like, they'd be like on a chair or something, cockeyed sideways, taking like 5-minute winks, and we would clear their jets. And they're like, oh, shit, already? And I'm like, yes, dude, it's been a half hour. He's like, yeah. He said, wow, that's a long turnaround. I said, yeah, we're trying to let you sleep a little bit. And because we had control of the turnaround, so we could actually help the pilot. And they appreciate it. Let me tell you what, man. They bring you all kind of favorite things back. But, you can only give so much time because the deck commander was watching. So he's out there screaming nonstop. And sometimes I was a deck commander. So it was an interesting life. I'll tell you that much. Well, no, people, it's always like that on board a ship. And when you're in the military, it's always like that. You get breaks and you get life and you can have fun. I mean, there's lots of stuff to do in a service that's fun. And once you're stationed somewhere, especially if you're land based, you get a lot more fun. But but that's your life. I mean, you're prepared to go kill people. That's what we do. We go make sure that you can live without having to deal with this. Like you little Z-Jenners, y'all can be okay and, drink your little chocolate milk and shit and not have to worry about it. I'm just saying, man.
When I was a cook in the Navy, we worked 3 off 2, worked 2 off 3. That's how we did it. Even on ship too. Well, on ship we were 12 and 12.
When we were on combat duty, sometimes I would see 72 hours straight with 24 hours, and then 72 hours straight again with 24 hours. And then they would break us and give us 48 hours and then another 72. And I'm telling you what, man, 72 hours on a flight deck is almost like suicide.
Yeah, it is.
It's like, and what happens is, because we all become really good friends, everybody's is really, not only are we talking or looking, but we're all touching, making sure where everybody's at, so nobody accidentally gets their freaking head chopped off or something.
Yep.
It's a dangerous job, but it also tells you why we have the best military in the world. You don't see any other militaries doing that shit because they'd be blowing their ships up. And Kirby, I did see that. So the Chinese, their new fancy aircraft carrier that's supposed to be the answer to the Eisenhower, is cruising along. Woo, boom! Big chunk of the side blows out. I think it was a boiler or something like that. Well, no, okay, Pete. I don't know what actually runs that carrier. Maybe a nuclear, but whatever it is, most carriers, whether it's diesel or if it's diesel or some other kind of gas or nuclear, it turns a turbine. It creates steam. That's what it actually does. Yes, it turns a turbine. It can be direct turbine too. Some of them do direct, but some of them create. I don't know why they create the steam. It don't make it. In the old days, they did it because they used it for 2 reasons: one, to turn the turbines, and also to run the catapults. But today, the kinetic catapults, so they don't use steam anymore. So everything might be just direct.
Maybe they have a steam backup.
And they might.
Oh, I'm sure.
But these days, everything is pretty much direct drive. So it's basically a nuclear reactor hooked up to a prop. And how fast can I go? I don't know. Can I get it up on a plane? Let's find out.
They can spin that prop fast enough to melt the fins on it.
It's a different world now, and it's even though the Nimitz was a badass aircraft carrier, it's got nothing on the Eisenhower. The Eisenhower is just a beast. And there are hidden weapons that no one knows about in the Eisenhower yet. It's been leaked 4 times that there's at least 4 new weapons on board. And then there's the blast system, which has actually been released. So underneath the bottom of the decks and the carrier, all the way around, I don't know if it's water or air, whatever it's blasting. So if a ship's trying to approach it and gets too close, they just turn these on and it'll just push the ship down into the water, or it'll push it back away from them so they can shoot it. But it won't let them get close enough to the hull to touch it. At first, you know what I really thought it was? I thought it was something like out of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where the carrier took off, because it looked like, when I seen it in action, it was like all these jets coming out all the way around. And I was like, is this bitch going to take off? I was kind of like, you'll see it. There's a couple of pictures of it here and there. And it got leaked out. Somebody probably got fired. The first time I seen it, the first picture I seen of it was either faked or hoax or something. But the second one I seen was real. And then I called a couple of friends and asked. I said, is this what? Every now and then I get lucky and I'll run across somebody who's actually got some information. But what do you mean top speed? I don't know what it is. The top speed officially of the Nimitz.
Probably top secret.
I think the top speed officially of the Nimitz was 60 knots. I think her actual speed was somewhere around 90, 95. One of my friends wouldn't even let me come back on the show because I said the real speed was like 95 knots. Joe, you can't be giving away classified military. See, I said, you don't think the Chinese don't know how fast our freaking carrier goes?
Yeah.
I said, they're probably out there with a stopwatch going, woo, look at that bitch go. Actually,
do you know what else was crazy? Whenever we would pull into port, and this is true, whenever the carrier that was on the Indy, we'd pull out from port, and you would have so-called shrimp boats following us out, right? About 10 of them. And you could just see all the antennas that were on
spy
top
boats,
of these.
yeah.
Oh my God, it was crazy. They were spy boats that looked like shrimp boats. It was, those were the days, Joe. Those were the days.
It was in. Oh man, so we're out there. We're Westpac somewhere, just across the equator. And I wasn't a newbie this time, thank God. And they're out there hazing the newbies like they always do. And you see this big trawl that's coming by. It's getting pretty close. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes look like an Agus cruiser just comes boating alongside of it. bloom, 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 starts cutting in front of us, and another one starts cutting in front of us, and then two more come up on each side of us, and you're sitting there like, oh shit, is somebody getting ready to attack us or something? Because this is an attack formation. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? We all of a sudden, I hear that it's a KK alert, means we're bringing planes on deck. I'm like, what? And then my boy calls me from Ordnance and says, Joe, they're all loaded. I'm like, what do you mean they're all loaded? He said, they're all loaded. I said, okay. So we get them on deck, we put them in the air, and as soon as the planes went up, this thing just makes like a as sharp as you could turn in a big funky ass boat like that. It was too late, man. Them two Agus's, one was on each side, or whatever these cruisers were. One was on each side, just sitting there going, "Hello, what are you doing here?" And they, you know, the old days they were using the light thing, which is cracking me up. I'm thinking, come on, people, pick up the radio and talk to somebody. And then
I'd like to share one more story. When we were out at sea refueling, the Russian ships would actually come up in between the tank, the oil ship, the gas ship or whatever, and our ship. And we would have to break lines all the time. So, and this is true. They would throw eggs at us, and in return, we would throw tomatoes and eggs and anything we could at them, you know, as they cut us up the middle, man. It was great. It was fun. But we had to break lines all the time. And there's nothing you could do about it.
And that's why they were doing it. So anytime on the Nimitz, the only 4 or 5 times I've seen this, I still remember this. I'm sitting on the underneath the deck smoking a cigarette. Because there's a little underneath the flight deck, there's a little cubby. So I'm sitting there smoking a cigarette. It's a great place to take pictures. So I'm sitting there and I hear the alarm going off, meaning about what we're doing. So I come off the deck, I come up top, and I see the tender coming up alongside of us. And it's getting awful close. I'm like, whoa, tender don't ever get this close. So I go walking over there. I'm getting ready to start getting on the mic and bitching at somebody. And I look over the side, and what do I see? Ballistic missile submarine with, she had, what was it, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 hatches on top. I was like, son of a bitch. I've never seen one personally that close before. I was like, wow, what is this? And then you seen, it looked like a freaking destroyer came up and just parked in between. Nothing was getting around us. They were just sitting there, and we were cruising at about 22 knots, and at a whole bunch of them, and there's just loading shit, unloading shit. And what they were doing is, so they were bringing it on board our ship, bringing it below decks, and using the side hatch to bring it onto the submarine.
Yep.
I was like, look at this slick shit, man.
Yep.
They didn't want the Russians to know it was there. See, now the Russians got them satellites to go, what the hell are these idiots do? We know there's a submarine right there. It was crazy to watch, though.
Those were the days.
Well, the second time it did it, I got to go on board and walk around, take a look around. I was like, I'm glad I'm not a submariner. I said, I'm out of here. I'm going back to my ship.
I was on. No, I wouldn't be on the submarine. No way. We used to call them. You call them bubbleheads, is what they were called. Bubbleheads.
So let's see what we got here. Okay.
Bubbleheads.
Bubbly headies. Let's see what we. Oh, I wanted to bring this up too. New ICBM is seen going 37% over budget, $96 billion cost. So wait a minute. Okay, we're gonna pay $100 billion per missile. Shouldn't we just keep the old ones? I mean, you know, what the hell? I mean, we got 5,000 of them. We got 2,300 of them on warheads.
Yeah, paying that much warheads on missiles explode.
Do y'all know at one time we had 11,100 missiles in this country, and Russia had 15,000? That was fucking insane. I mean, that was enough to end the world, I don't know, 20 times over, 30 times over. Nobody coming back from that. That would have definitely been the 6th grade extinction. Well, Janet, the way it's set up right now, everybody who hates everybody seems to live on top of the world. The bottom half of the world seems to get along just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't know. And so y'all know this, just because there's a nuclear war up top does not necessarily mean that it will affect the bottom of the planet that hard, because we spin in opposite directions. The weather does. Y'all didn't know that, did you? Y'all also didn't know that the tallest in South America spin in opposite directions of the ones in North America, did y'all? I know all this useless information. I have won so much money in that shit. It's not even funny, man. It's not even funny. Well, a good friend of mine from South America, he said, whatever. I said, I'm coming up there to find out for myself. I said, I don't have to. I said, I'll put the camera on for you, videotape it. He said, you got some trick, Tarlin. I was like, I said, dude, it's just the way the planet works. I said that's why they call them hurricanes in one place and typhoon in other places. I said it's just different, man. They don't want to hear that. It's a lot of fun. Brittany, what do you got for us? Joe Biden by 2 million votes.
Huh.
Well, Brittany, look, I got this land down here for sale in New Orleans. Really pretty land. I'll give it to you for 1.5 mil. It's about 5 acres. It's right outside the city. It's great. You might have to pump a little water off of it, but it's whew, man, it's prime property.
You might have to hunt some gators too.
Yeah, the gators. Once you pump the water out, the gators go away.
Snakes, spiders.
Okay, guys, since y'all going to start putting this, so we're doing numbers. Trump by 5 million. Trump by 10 million. Trump by 100 million. What the hell ever? You people are on crack, man. What you got there, Denise? Seriously, Biden's going to win by 4 million. Trump's going to be convicted by all of crimes, and the country will get its senses back, and Biden will win big.
Well, I mean, he's got a 9 million person lead, right? They just imported 9 million voters.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny about that? So just had to just piss Biden off, beyond. So, Border Patrol, and so they won't let. They're not well anyway. The Texas police and Rangers won't let Border Patrol down there. So they've been asking these illegals who you give credit to, and they said that like the first few batches that came over were hardcore Biden. He said these are anti-Biden. So I don't know what's going on. I think somebody down there is well, they're probably pushing them. But what's really funny about this
Trump voters, that's what they're doing.
So Mexico said they're going to put the Trump thing back in effect, even if Biden don't help them. They've had enough of this shit. They're tired of people drowned in the Rio Grande and shit. They've had enough. So they're going to start seizing these people and putting them in camps to await extradition to the United States. And one of the U.S. congressmen said that we need to balance this out. We don't need 80% men and 20% women and children. He said that's not right. He said and I've said this 100 times, that's a fifth column is what that is. Mm-hmm. So if you've got the 11 million here and 9 million, well, it's 20 million illegals in a country of 400 million. And these are all young men. I said, that's just dangerous. All the way around, that's just dangerous. I said, it's time to start paying. And granted, they're not going to all be evil bastards and stuff, but I bet you a few or more. Jackie, that's true. The people who blew up the Twin Towers did not come from South America. They came from Canada. Yes, they did. Them effing Canadians let them in. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Canada has no border. What do you mean? They don't have no border restrictions. You freaking half the time you just show them your driver's license, they let you in.
Hell, half of those 19 people were in the United States just months prior taking classes how to learn how to fly those jets.
And CIA knew they were in they knew they were in the country.
Yeah, they knew they were in the country.
They knew. They didn't want to tell the FBI because they wanted to get intelligence. They didn't want the FBI to come in and screw everything up by arresting them.
They don't want anyone playing in their own sandbox. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Holy crap. That bad.
I mean, look, you can't blame the CIA for thinking that way because they're right. But
well, but had the information been shared across multiple platforms, it may not have been as devastating.
Correct.
Be right back.
Oh wait, they're going after Alec Baldwin anyway? I'm confused. I thought he was going to be the hero.
I don't know if they're still doing the legal action against, but there is a civil suit against him for sure.
So let's see. Let me share this? Let's find out right quick. Let me share this. Present. Oh, wait, here we go. And click away, baby.
Been indicted by a New Mexico grand jury on charges connected to that fatal 2021 shooting on the set of the film.
What's that, Gene? All right, I'll restart it. Hold on.
Yeah, we can't hear it.
Breaking news into CNN. Actor Alex. been indicted by a New Mexico grand jury on charges connected to that fatal 2021 shooting on the set of the film Rust.
And Alec Baldwin now criminally charged once again. Obviously, we had been reporting earlier on after that fatal shooting in 2021 that the actor had been criminally charged. Those charges were then dropped. Prosecutors at the time said that that was because new evidence came to light in the case, causing questions about a piece of evidence. A law enforcement source at the time told me that that was because they learned that the weapon that was used in the shooting had been modified in some form. And so, again, those charges had been dropped. Prosecutors at the time said, though, that if they gather new information that determined culpability on the part of Alec Baldwin, they would then possibly refile charges. We're learning today that did indeed happen. A grand jury in the state of New Mexico returning this 2-count indictment. I'll read you the 2 charges specifically. Count 1 is for involuntary manslaughter, negligent use of a firearm. Count 2, involuntary manslaughter without due caution or circumspection.
Ooh, Alec, man, you done got your ass in trouble. I was wondering when they were going to go after him.
Well, apparently they got some new info they had to go over. So a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, y'all can send us any kind of links that y'all want, guys. We don't mind. That's why I played
it
out.
And whatever happens with this, it 100% killed his new TV show. He was doing the new. Oh God, it was funny as hell. It's like the game where you
30 Rock.
No. It was a game.
Mad
show
Libs.
It was Mad Libs TV show. The original one was Gene Rayburn was the host. He had that really long stick microphone. Match Game. He revived Match Game. It was really, really good. Because they were doing it with the idea of making it a naughty theme, so all the Mad Lib fill-ins were usually naughty suggestions and naughty words. It was great.
What the hell? Whoa! What did y'all just send me blasting my ear out, people? Jesus! Sorry, guys. Somebody just sent me something that came to me full blast. Well, actually, we get ready to take a break, guys. What you got before we go on break? What's up? No, there'll be a song playing it into intros and lovely stuff like that. What is up? Who's your prediction for president? Nikki Haley. It's possible. Jackie Kennedy. It's not possible for Kennedy, even though he's a good guy. You can't talk like this and be president of the United States. I hate to tell you that.
Yeah, it's just not a really good idea to be president with the last name Kennedy. I mean,
but I mean, the guy's smart. I've listened to him talk. He's got his shit together. But the problem is,
Jack was smart. I mean, he was a smart president. Bobby was smart. Ted was smart.
Bobby and Jack could talk smoothly though, so they had it easier. This guy, unfortunately for him,
they could not talk smoothly. I mean, listen to Jack Kennedy and some of his speeches.
He
called Cuba. He had a tuna sandwich. I mean, the guy just words.
Hey,
it's Bostonian though.
It's
in the corner.
On your way to Canada.
You do not knock the Kennedys. I'm sorry. You just
but regardless, this guy, it's not his accent or any of that. It's just there's something wrong with his throat.
He had throat cancer, didn't he?
It's just, I mean, if he could actually talk, he would be higher in the polls for the Democrat. He wouldn't have to leave the Democratic Party and go as an independent. Because a lot of places he's pulling 17, 18 points on Biden. And they're saying, oh, part of that's Trump. No, that's Biden, people. Trump's still pulling 46, 48,
he's not
50.
taking his votes from Trump voters.
And that's the other thing. When you see these NBC, CNN polls where Trump and Biden are close, you never see Kennedy in them. Well, Kennedy's running. So when you do see Kennedy in, Biden's always around 36%.
Yeah, so those numbers have to be up by whatever percentage he's up in the.
So what it means is if Kennedy runs, it don't matter what Democrat runs. A Republican's going to be president. It won't even matter what Republican it is; they're going to be president.
He's going to be the Bob Dole, Ross Perot of this election. He's going to fudge it for the incumbent.
Marley, it's going to be Trump's got a lot to deal with before he's going to win the nomination. I mean, judging from the last two things I've seen, he's going to win the nomination hands down. But it still doesn't mean. I mean. So what do you mean? So if he loses all of his cases, as far as I know, none of these cases entail jail time anyway. But even if any of them do, he's going to appeal them, and he's going to get the appeals, because the one in New York, both the district attorney and the judge have said so much hateful stuff about Trump before the case. And back in 2016, they should have already recused themselves. So it's going to be an easy appeal on that, even if he's got to go to Supreme Court.
Well, and plus the whole case is ridiculous. It's like you tried to sell your house, you asked for more money than it's worth, therefore you should be prosecuted.
And like the federal court judge said, he said, well, wait a minute, didn't the bankers say, yeah, it was fine, we checked him out, we already knew what he was worth, blah blah blah. You don't give somebody $500 million if you don't know what they're worth. I mean, and wait, and then the judge said, did he pay the loan out? And of course, it's paid in full. So I mean, what are we arguing about here? I mean, this is just bullshit. And then now the Georgia case, which was getting a little steam, now we find out the girl in charge is paying her boyfriend $600,000 a year to be a minor investigator and prosecutor. So now we got more bullshit there. So, and then the DC cases are nothing. They don't pertain to anything. There's no insurrection charges there. There's not. I mean, it's.
Well,
what's bad about this?
There's a rumor. Kemp that was his girlfriend, his hot chocolate.
Well, I don't know, but
Georgia.
I know she, whoever her boyfriend is right now, she's paying $600,000 a year to be a special prosecutor. Actually, I don't think he's a prosecutor. I think, he's like a special investigator or some shit. There ain't nobody else on that team making $600K a year. And to do what? Stick his finger in her ass? I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't say that out loud, but anyway, sorry, guys, it popped out of my mouth. I mean, that's probably what he's being paid for. Let's be honest.
To professionally provide an enema is the proper.
There you go. That's the proper way to say that. See, that's what we got showing around. I don't know what I mean. I hear things like this, and I hear everybody screaming about how corrupt the Republicans are. And I'm thinking, really, we got Joe Biden blackmailing prosecutors and presidents. We've got all kind of illegal criminals going on. And even when 55% of your own party says that they think these investigations and trials are politically related, that should tell you right there. That's all you need, because 90% of all the Republicans doing 70% of the independents do. I mean, you and we all know the same thing. In the end, they're going to all be in front of the Supreme Court, and they're going to get overturned, and you're going to have wasted literally probably $1 billion or more on trials you knew you could not win from day one. And I said this from day one. I said this in his first election. I said, stop talking about Trump or he's going to win easily, and he did. And I said this in this one. I said, every time y'all bring another charge, he's going to go up 3 or 4 points. It's exactly what
they're paying for his ad campaign just by mentioning these court cases.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they don't get it. Like, they're just pissing people off by doing this. People who don't even like Trump, they're pissing them off because they see how he's being prosecuted for kind of trumped up charges. Like, oh, there you go, trumped up charges, literally. And people just see that, like, if they can do that to this guy and he's a billionaire and can afford to defend themselves, they can do that to us. They can just make stuff up, and people
that love Trump love him more, and people that didn't love him are loving him now because of the.
Well, it's not that they're loving him; they're just like, we need to vote for anything that will, against this crew that's running the government. Even if they don't like him, people are going to vote for him.
Hey guys, I have a question for you. I'm not really knowledgeable in politics, but when Trump won, was it Illinois or Iowa? Was that a big deal?
Illinois, usually there's like the three that are it's a big deal in the sense that it has a caucus system, which is a little bit different than a traditional primary.
What's a caucus system? I don't know.
You have to go in, like, you have delegates that go into these caucus rooms, and you have to convince all the other delegates that your person is the person. So it's kind of, and it kind of happens, I think, sort of. I don't know the exact term, framework about how it's run, but it's a little bit different. But I think the first three typically tend to be Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. And the person that wins the majority of those three generally tends to be the front runner.
Okay. So, I was wondering about that. All I know is that I saw Rachel Maddow. She was like really depressed and wouldn't talk about it, and she was like really sad about how Trump won so fast. What was it? 35
she contributed
minutes?
to it. Like, she should blame herself for, like, demonizing the guy for keeping the attention. Like, if they had just ignored this guy, Just like after the election, just stop giving them press coverage, not like done this whole political theater about January 6th. He would have gone away, right? We'd be talking about DeSantis now, but they just wouldn't let it go.
Yeah.
They just would not let it go. And all it does is it pisses people off, right? When they see that they're arresting people for, just showing up on the lawn after all the signs have been removed. Like, people are getting hauled into jail for what? Just for like standing in a field and gawking. So like, it's just, that is really disturbing to people. And this is just the result of that. It should have been obvious 4 years ago that you just kind of ignore the guy, just let him quietly go away. But, they just magnified him.
And that's the truth. If they would have just shut up when Hillary was running, I don't know. With Hillary, it was going to be hard because she was so corrupt, nobody wanted to vote. And what sucked was I liked Hillary. And then all of a sudden, I was like, God, you're the most evil bitch on the planet. It got to the point where you couldn't trust anything that came out of her mouth. There was so many scandals around her that it just wasn't even funny anymore.
By the way, did you see Jamie Dimon's comments at Davos, like the head of JP Morgan, CEO of JP Morgan, about MAGA? Did you see that?
I didn't see it.
So this guy's, he's traditionally a Democrat. He's but like very centrist kind of mentality. And he openly said, like, Democrats, you got to stop demonizing people who, half the country, and saying that they cling to their guns and beer and this and that. Like, just because they're going to vote for Trump doesn't mean they are Trump, right? And then, so of course, somebody throws in, because they're, the media is like, well, he's like, what about he kind of said the China fluence. He's like, I'm not saying that, like, he's a likable guy, right? And I'm not saying he didn't say things that were, offensive and stuff to that people, but he was right about NATO. He was right about the economy. He was right about the pandemic, right? And it's just like, you can't ignore, like, the economy actually did well while he was there. Whether or not it was him or something else, right? You can debate that until the cows come home. But we were in a much better economic situation when he was president than we are now. So you can blame it on him or not. But the point is I think even Jamie Dimon was getting frustrated with this, like, demonization of half the country, because he can see where the wind's blowing, right? When you have a bank like that, and where the president actually has a huge impact on whether or not you're still going to be CEO, when you're going to start moving where the wind's blowing, and that's a huge bellwether. Where's the wind blowing? It's blowing in Trump's direction.
It is,
better or worse.
Yeah. And when you're watching our economy leap, because even he has to feel the impact. It's one thing when it went up one time, then 2 times, and 3 times, and 4. Even rich people started feeling the pinch when everything. So I'm gonna go buy me a new Rolls Royce this year. Okay. Oh well, last year was $100,000. Now it's $600,000. You're like, well,
even people just driving like a pickup truck, contractors, you're in that business. I've been in that footprint for a while. You got these big, Ford F-150s and F-250s that hold, 65, 75 gallon tanks, at $4, $3, $4, $5, $8 a gallon, it stacks up.
Yeah, it does. And well, that's the other thing. So people say, well, rich people aren't really feeling it. Well, if you're like making 250, maybe 250 to maybe $1 million a year, you're not really feeling this, because you're probably working for someone. You probably have, your bills or your house notes, your car notes, stuff like that. But, a lot of these people, after you break that point, are entrepreneurs. So when you got 10 trucks on the road and you're paying $8 a gallon, you feel that. And somebody else has got to feel that, or you can't stay in business, which means somehow you got to convince your customers you're going to go up on your product 5 times as much as it was. Well, they're going to be looking at you like, wait, I was getting this bag of chips for 25 cents. Now it's going to be $1.25. Well, they went all the profit margin. So now they've got to go up to like $1.50. And everybody's looking at, well, wasn't this like 50 cents or 75 cents just a couple of weeks ago? And it doesn't stop. It just keeps going and it keeps going. The only thing that's stabilized down here is gasoline. It's stabilized somewhere around $2.50 a gallon. And
I'll tell you something that's stabilized.
I'll take that.
Yeah, stabilizing for me up in California.
Yeah. And wait, that's twice what we paid under Trump.
Disgusting. Right before COVID, we had 10-foot piece of gray PVC conduit for electrical purposes was $1.50 some cents a 10-foot stick, and that's before tax. $1.50. So like after tax, a little under $2. So COVID came, Biden came, gas prices went up, plastics went up, and when I left the Home Depot over there, it was $7.56 or $7.65, $7, more than $7.50 per 10-foot stick now. After tax, that now used to be under $2 10-foot stick is now over $10 after taxes, and those prices are not coming down.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
And it's like that's close to like 1,000% increase in price.
That's craziness, dude.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Where I work at, okay, I saw a lady. She bought maybe 12 items. Okay, she spent $84 on it. But what really kills me the most, guys. All right, here's what kills me the most is that you have senior citizens that are living on certain amount of monies, right?
Fixed incomes, yeah.
Yeah, and my God, they come in scared to buy stuff because they don't know if they're going to have enough money. I mean, I get an old lady come in. She's like, 80 years old. And all she wants is $2 worth of ground meat. And that's nothing. It's just like 1/8 of a freaking little bit of ground meat, but that's all she can eat. That's all she can have, and it kind of like pulls at my heartstrings, you just like want to go and say, hey, listen, here's a pound of it, and then go up and pay for it, for her. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. That's how I do it. In fact, I have done that a couple of times where I know that the people do not have no money to buy that food that they needed, especially if they have babies, so I would look at their cart and I said, okay, come on, I'll buy this. And I would. And it wasn't because, I had an ego or I just wanted to help somebody out, and I would buy their foods. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just this economy. It just drives me nuts. And I feel it at work. I really do. I mean, we have so much meat, so much beef, so much pork in the back.
You can't sell how much of it do you throw away each day at the end of the night?
Oh my God, dude. At least $1,000, $1,500 for beef and pork.
Yeah. Beef, pork, chicken, fish.
And then you got hot foods where they cook burgers and chicken and French fries or whatever. And it's a law in Pennsylvania, I do believe, that they cannot give it to the homeless shelters. They have to throw it away. Yes. They have to throw it away.
What was the logic behind the original law?
Food poisoning, I can only imagine, but
that's what I would think it would be.
That's what so the food poisoning. Yeah. And even now, check this out, right? So I was over at Giant Eagle, and the Little Sisters of the Poor would come and we'd give them food, right? I'd give them food. We would. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, Jay, the food bank came in and said, nuns, you don't get no more. We get it all. And we only give you a certain amount from what we collect.
Yeah.
Is that's just disgusting, dude.
Yeah, and then some of those food banks, you can only go on certain days of the week, like Tuesdays and Thursdays,
And they don't even give you stuff.
No, yeah. You have there's a limit. You can get like 2 cans of beans and 2 cans of soup or whatever. Yeah, they limit you.
I mean, now there's like once or twice a month, the food bank will come in and they will like order 70 1-pound packages of ground meat and 70 either a pound of thighs or a pound of legs. You know what I mean? And then we do that for them and we distribute it to them. We don't, but the food bank comes in and gives it to the people. And I think that's pretty decent, but what a bad deal, man. What a bad deal. I seen them throw bread away. Bread.
Yeah.
And it's like you send it.
The
You
the whole retail side of things, it doesn't matter what end you're in, whether it's the food end of it or services end. I worked in the Toys R Us distribution center, just like it wasn't long after that they actually went bankrupt, the whole company. But the warehouse was like 1 million square feet. It was huge. The pallet jack that I rode was able to pick up 3 pallets at once, so I could carry 3 full pallets.
right.
And a pallet is about 45 inches square. And this machine went 35 miles an hour through the warehouse. And if I crashed, I could kill myself on this machine. But they threw away in the 3 months I was there, every week at least close to $1 million worth of bicycles, because they were a distribution center for like the whole 3 or 4 state area here, and bicycles that had nothing wrong with it, like one of the tassels was missing on one handlebar, or the chain broke, or there's a nick in the paint, or the tire was the back tire was gone. There was no rubber on the back tire. Little fixes that they could have easily donated that whole schmear to poor kids. You think some poor kid who doesn't get crap for Christmas isn't going to freak out that he gets a bike missing a tire? His parents could easily, afford to get a replacement tire for a bike that was donated for a good cause. They were throwing this stuff away, throwing it down the compactor and crushing it. And we were not allowed as employees of the company to go even anywhere near these. We were told if we even touched one of those bikes, it was instant termination. If they saw you touch one of those bicycles waiting for destruction, you were terminated immediately.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
check this out though. And I have a real good friend up in Michigan, and he likes to work with animal shelters, right? And so he put out this thing on Facebook, and he said the CEO of the ASPCA, he makes $7 million a year.
Wow, it's a nice gig.
Yes, makes all that money, and he keeps telling people
for a nonprofit.
Yeah,
that's more than a lot of CEOs make.
Tell me about
of
it.
Profitable companies,
nonprofit organizations. They fire me, but the Salvation Army, same way. Their CEOs make a ton of money, during Christmas, but the 7 million, and it's like my friend Mark, he keeps telling them, donate to regular shelters. You know what I mean? Give to the shelters, not for that the ASPCA, work with. But I tell you what, one time when that first came out, I donated, and I'm telling you what, my God, they're just like leeches. They just want more money, more money, more money. And it's like,
it's not surprising. It's a problem that we created. The animal population is a bit, difficult to handle, and it's very expensive. I mean, have you ever noticed if you have any pets, how much more expensive animal healthcare is than human healthcare? I mean, if you have
insurance, you better get insurance.
You really do need to get pet insurance. It's that much more helpful. I mean, it's $60, $70, $80 a visit just for a checkup. When you go see your doctor, it's normally like $40. Cat is.
Do they sell pet insurance?
Oh yeah.
Do they?
Yeah. I don't even recall that being a thing when I was growing up, but in recent years, that's a thing.
Animal and cat and dog insurance actually did start coming about like the late 70s, early mid 80s, but it wasn't really a big thing. But nowadays it is. I mean, we know that big pharma and animal pharma and medical stuff in this country is definitely a for-profit organization. It's a gig. They're making so much money off of it. But for any kind of
I think
pet,
it's 1/6. I think it's like 1/6 of the U.S. economy is pharma. It's ridiculous.
At least that, and anything that's for your pet is at least double medical for you as a human being. And then if you have a specialty pet like a bird or a snake or an exotic fish, it's even more expensive.
Craziness, man. It's just this is craziest. And I would love to save every animal out there, but I just can't do it. You know what I mean? The people who own dogs that treat them like shit should actually be put into freaking prison or something like that.
That's one thing I do believe Biden did, or was it Trump? One of them did make illegal a felony to harm an animal. I think it was Trump during his administration. So there is now a nationwide federal felony to cause harm to an animal.
And then the dog fighting, huh? You don't hear too much of that in the news anymore.
No, that still goes on, but you know, the big stink with that was, what was that Falcons quarterback that got into that?
Michael Vick.
Yeah, Michael Vick. Yeah, it ruined his career. You don't hear anything about him anymore, do you?
Yeah, well, he does some like sit-in broadcast with the football, but he was hired by the Steelers after he got out of jail because they needed a quarterback. And yeah. But he, you know, what he did was bad. Okay, and there's no question about it. And he did his jail time. What gets me mad? But what gets me mad the most is that people still go after him critically. You know, like they just destroy him. Like you were a dog.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to like.
Yeah, he's done it. He's done it.
It's
over.
Right? You know?
It's over and done with. Let the man get on with his life. But people won't do that. And it's not so much Michael Vick, it's like everybody.
Well, yeah, it's like the cancellation thing. You say one mean word and suddenly your life is over.
Oh, dude, yeah. I've seen that.
It's out of control. Happen. It's out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, do your research. But people won't, because they'll hear Joe say something bad about me, and all of a sudden, Joe tells everybody else about me, okay? And my reputation is destroyed in a heartbeat. It's like destroyed in an hour. And you know what? That has happened to me many a times. Yeah. But you know what? I just keep hanging in there. I just keep hanging in there, and I'm thinking, you know what? Maybe this was supposed to happen to me. So I took a good, view, or I took a good stance about one person saying one bad thing to other people about anybody, they're done. They are done.
Especially if they do it in private, the whisper campaign. Like you can destroy somebody that way, and you can make stuff up, and it can, And I mean, people, there's a reason. You ever read Dante's Inferno?
No,
no. The ninth level of hell. I know of it, but I haven't read it. The ninth level of hell is the worst level of hell, obviously. But can you guess who it's for? By the way, and it's not hot; it's cold.
Oh, really?
And do you know who populates the ninth level of hell?
Who's that?
Rapists.
Traitors.
Traitors. Oh.
Betrayers.
Oh.
People who do exactly the thing you talked about.
Really? Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's the most insidious thing you can do to somebody.
Judas
right?
is
And
scary.
it destroys. Yeah, it unravels. It's like a civilization unraveler. Because you do that to enough people, you have the Soviet Union, right? Where good people aren't in charge anymore.
It toppled the top of the leadership of Rome several times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's literally that's how Caesar was murdered. He was stabbed in the back by all his friends.
Yep.
And you know what the sad thing about it is? It will never end.
No,
it will never end. No.
Well, I'm hoping someday we all learn that we are all telepathic. And I'm willing to go through.
You know what we are?
There's going to be a ways down the road.
Sean, we are.
Eventually, we won't be that way.
Yeah. No, I think we are. I just think we just don't. We forgot how to do it. We don't know how to do it.
Well, maybe.
But
there's also some rumor, and there's a lot of evidence to this effect. Also, that allegedly some of the aliens are able to tweak certain, whether it's biochemicals in our brains or some kind of on-off switch that turns certain abilities on and off in our minds that we can and can't do. So that could be part of it as well. Because I mean they're able to tamper with our memories, implant fake memories and or take out memories of you interacting with them. So
that's what we were trying to exploit it too. But back in the 70s and 80s, it was psychotronics, right? That's what they called it, psychotronics.
Yeah. Are you guys on crack again?
No,
psychotronics. Aren't you listening?
Yeah, come on, psychotronics.
So I can prove by any reasonable doubt that only certain few people have gifts. that the majority of the population not only do not have psychic abilities, but they can't even get the shit guessing 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did that test on people. I'll be
Oh, not
honest.
one time. Oh, no. We've done this at least 100, 150 times. So
All you got to do is you got to watch. If you watch the opening of Ghostbusters, Bill Murray's got the pretty
The
girl
Zener
and
cards.
the Gurk with the cards, and they keep shocking the dude, and the dude starts getting them right. He's like, no, yeah.
Yeah, he looks on. He's like, I'm sorry. And then the
Yeah,
woman,
I'm sorry.
the attractive
Not your
woman's
day.
just like, "Wow, you're right again." Oh,
oh my God, yeah. No, the problem is when we start. So, because I mean, one of the things we think is if you do have contact, you're probably gifted in that way. But so we decided, because everybody keeps saying, "Oh, everybody's got telepathic abilities." I'm like, well, let's find out. So we started going to malls and testing, going to conferences and testing, going to DC and testing. And sometimes, like at the mall, you might get 200-300 people come through. So you're sitting there with you, and it says on this psychic test, do you think you're psychic? Beat the cards. And we always start out with something simple, a 2-card test, red and blue, green and yellow, whatever, just something easy. And we always ask people, are you colorblind? Because, we don't want you getting the wrong color because you're colorblind. So most of the people didn't. So do you know if you have somebody flip a coin 100 times, most people will not even get it right 50-50. It is just odds, heads or tails, heads or tails, heads or tails. Most people don't get. Same thing with the cards.
Are you talking about they'll get it right 100 times in a row? Like most people won't get it right 100 times in a row? Is that what you're saying?
Most people won't get it right 50% of the time.
Oh,
yeah.
get it less.
So,
we did that in one of our classes. We all took quarters and flipped them 100 times each. And everyone, about the average for the whole class was that everyone got about 32% of it correct.
That's about right. 32
you flip
to 46.
It, you call it, and you write it down, then you get right to results.
Yeah, so it's the same thing with the cards. So we found out a long time ago that the majority of people on this planet are not telepathic in any shape, form.
Yo, you got a coin right now?
Not with me, no. I don't carry. Well, man, I don't carry money when I'm on the air. It's but you know what? We'll set it up when we'll do the card test. But it's
Look, I'm not claiming I am. I'm just curious.
With the coins, it's a little bit harder for someone to predict because it's a little bit of randomality in the coins. But cards are different. See, so this is what telepathy is. You see, getting a coin right, it would be a clairvoyant. That means you can see into the future because you know where it's going to land.
But it's not necessarily random, and it's not always 50.
Or remote viewing.
But what I'm saying is any way it goes, you're looking into the future. So that's clairvoyancy. That's not telepathic. Telepath looks in my brain and sees what the 2 cards is that I'm looking at. And then he knows which card is on each side, or she knows which card is in. That's telepathy. So if I'm looking at a red and green card and I got my hand, I say, what card is this? And she says green, and I know she's got it. I say, what's this? She says red. And, but and a lot of times you don't have to show them cards. I'll say, I have, I have 2 cards here. Can you tell me the colors? What color is this one? They'll tell you what color is this. And that's a true telepath. That's somebody with any reasonable doubt. That's a telepath. And we'll probably get every one of them right. They probably won't even miss. And if they do miss, it's not going to be very many.
That's if you don't show them what the result is, because if you show them what the result is after they guess that and if they got them right, then there's a chance that was precognition,
okay.
Right? So you can't show it to them after you can't tell them whether or not they were right. You can just give them the aggregate result in order to take away that element of precognition.
But
if you're running the experiment,
so if somebody gets it right 5 times with 5 sets, then it will advance the test maybe up to 8 cards. And then we'll just throw them down there. If you can go through all 8 cards and get the right card, you're an extremely gifted telepath. So then, by the way, the Air Force and the Navy use this same test. In 2000, they dropped the remote viewing programs because they just weren't productive enough. And they went to, Edgar Dames is a friend of mine. I met him several times. We even did coast to coast together on remote viewing. The problem with remote viewing is it's limited, whereas telepathy is not. So the remote viewer could find the nuclear weapon. Well, he could even find the base. He could even find the desk. But the problem was he couldn't tell you what the code was on the desk, but the telepath can. Right. He can look down with the guy's eyes and say 9165 Jess, whatever, and they've got the code now. So, and they can also find the missile the same way. So the Navy and Air Force decided that we're just going to go full telepathy. Edgar Major, they retired him. They retired the whole group. And they were pretty good remote viewers. I'm not saying they weren't good remote viewers. They actually were.
They shut the program. They officially
shut the program.
shut down the program in 1995 as Project Stargate.
And then the Air Force and Navy in 2020 decided they went. And the reason they made it public was they were having hard times finding gifted telepaths. And then when they started talking about what they were paying, a lot more people were coming in and saying, but you still, a gifted telepath is probably one in every 50 million people. Now, probably one in every 5 million people. But it's just, it's
So you're
not
saying there's 60. There's 60 in the United States. That's what that implies.
Yeah, there's not a lot of them. And you can tell this because they're not being used for anything. So here's a real good one for you. You know, I ask people this all the time. Telekinesis. How many people in the world do you think possess telekinesis?
Not me.
None.
Yeah, not many.
None. You know how you know none? Because Putin's still alive. Xi Jinping is still alive. Donald Trump is still alive. Anybody who had somebody with that kind of abilities out there. So all Trump would have said to do if he had somebody who had telekinesis, say, okay, I'm tired of Kim Jong-un. Squeeze one of his arteries, make him have a heart attack, whatever. It would look like Kim had a heart attack and nobody would ever question it. And it would go on. And you could do, give Putin an aneurysm. So, but nobody does that. So those abilities just don't quite exist on our planet yet.
Well,
and no one's paying Randy's $1 million yet either.
To be fair, though, if we had those capabilities, the Russians likely would have those capabilities. And if we started dropping Russian leaders dead, soon enough, they would figure it out.
They would have to know it was us. They might have been the Chinese.
And you'd have like an unstable. But to be fair, I've never heard of people with telekinetic ability. The most I get is like psychokinesis that I've heard of, like Lynn Buchanan, right, and stuff like that.
There's been a few people out there that has some gifts, but the real hardcore gifts are hard to find. There's a hand, and the reason this is what's so odd about this. So the amount of people who are listed as contactees in our country is about the same amount of people that is listed as having telepathic abilities. It's more than a coincidence. So anytime your numbers are that close together, it's way more than a coincidence.
Yeah, but they're abducting more than 60 people.
Yeah, they're abducting.
No, well, telepaths worldwide. So
be abducted.
I would imagine telepaths in the United States are probably somewhere 15 to 25 million, easy. Give or take one or here two. The abduction population in the United States is almost exactly the same. It's worldwide. It's almost exactly the same. And we won't even interview someone as an abductee or a contactee if they're not at least empathic, because we don't. I don't think the aliens even would bother with anybody who's not. To them, you're cannon fodder. If you're not a telepath or an empath, you're wasting their time. They're not going to look at you. To them, you're has been. You're the old part of the new world on this planet. They're not interested in you. You're dying out. Eventually, you're going to go extinct. It's that same 15% that have the colored eyes and the different kinds of blood. It's that same group of people.
RH negatives.
The RH negatives. It's the same group of people.
What's the colored eyes? What's that?
Well, so this is what's weird. So before about 60,000 years ago, everyone on the planet had brown hair, brown eyes, brown skin. Everybody.
Oh yeah, like about 10,000 years ago, they started seeing.
No, it was about. Well, this is what happened about 40. Yeah. About 45,000 years ago. So nobody knows this or nobody pays attention to it, but RH negative is only 45,000 years old. Before that, everybody had RH positive on the planet. Everybody. There was no exceptions. Everybody was RH positive. RH negative is a mutation, and it's a bad mutation, or it was intended to be a bad mutation. Remember, RH negative is a baby killer. Until the anti-denigen G gene was invented, it killed babies. In the old days, you used to have to get a blood test before you could get married in case you were not compatible. It was an RH negative. I did too. An RH negative and RH positive could not have children together. The baby would die, usually stillborn, because the antibodies from the positive would attack the negative and kill them. So this was something out of somewhere, nowhere. Nobody can even explain why. No, I worked with a dozen hematologists in this, and there's still all the maps and all the stuff we originally did are still on the ICAR site. And these are big name hematologists. They couldn't figure it out. Well, why did Mother Nature decide we needed a new type of blood? And that mutation is what spawned the green and blue eyes and all the other mutations, because green and blue eyes are also mutations, just like the RH negative, and they all are bound together. Well, RH negative people are different than RH positive people. They have different types of personalities. They're more outgoing. They're more independent. These are all studies that have been verified. So it's a different group in our own population, and they tend to be Rh negative people tend to be on average more psychic than anybody else.
How do you know if you are Rh negative?
You just got to go to the doctor,
You
get your
get a
blood
blood
tested.
test. Yeah.
I'm O negative.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that science has actually gave us a little hand on to help improve some of the stuff that was going on. It was funny when I originally approached the first hematologist. He told me I was crazy. He wouldn't work with somebody who talked about aliens. I said, well, that's fine. And then I told him what I had discovered, and he's like, really? He said, well, let's see if there's any correlations. So he starts looking. He brings some other people on and start looking, and then we realize that the overall population of people who say they've been abducted, about 65 to 68% have Rh negative blood.
I must have been abducted then.
So it's an overwhelming amount of people have it, and those people happen to be telepathic. It's also the same group. It's a strange thing because South America, in case you didn't know this, is 98% O. It's not the usual mix of bloods where you find 36%, 35%, 15%, 7%, 1.5%. It's not that. It's 98% O. Even with Cortez invading South America, it is still 98% O. It's unheard of. It's like a whole different population living down there from the rest of the world. It's completely strange. The more we dug into this, the more we found things that just could not be answered. They did all kind of peer review studies on this because it was insane. It just kept coming. And the guy, he didn't want to tell anybody that a ufologist, an alien researcher came up and brought this information to him. He was like, but they checked everything over and over and over. They put the world maps up. So if you look at America, okay, North America, you'll see it's 36% O positive, 35% A positive, blah, 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 blah. If you go to South and Central America, you will find that I think it's 98% O. The maps, like I said, the maps are still on the site. They're still there even today. We put them up there for people so they could review them for themselves, so they didn't have to take us at our word. And it's different. It shows whatever the land bridge theory isn't correct, because that wouldn't be how the population was. It would have been whatever the mix that came from over on the land bridge would be the mix that's here, which is probably the North American group. And they keep saying that the land bridge formed up here in Alaska. I mean, down here, in Alaska and Canada. And we walked all the way down to the tip of South America and then came all the way back up to America and then inhabited America.
No, that's not how it happened. They were using dugout canoes. It was the Homon culture, the prehistoric Japanese Korean culture that spans the time frame about 14,500 BCE to about 1700 CE. They used dugout canoes. The land bridge wasn't it was more of an archipelago that you could maybe you could swim to an island, walk across that, and swim to another and walk across it. So what they did was they had a canoe caravan kind of thing that they started in Japan, and they went and they followed the currents that go around in a circle like that in the Pacific, and they came across Alaska, Western Canada, Western North America, all the way down the coast, Baja California, Mexico, as far down to as like the top of South America, about maybe as far down on the western end of South America, maybe about as far as the top of Peru, before they went and started venturing back west again across the Hawaiian and Polynesian islands back to Japan. And it's proven for two things. In the artwork that I studied in that region of the Homon, is identical to the same rope patterns you see that go all the way across the country, right across Central America to Florida, and then across to Europe, and then they end up in Italy and Greece. That's one thing. The other thing is that the clay pottery that you find in South America, they didn't have that type of pottery originally, so it came from somewhere, and the originals are in Japan and Korea. And then the third thing is that the genetics, the DNA, the Native American Indians and Native South American Indians are more closely related to Japanese and Korean DNA than European or Spanish.
Well, you got a whole segment in South America that's not related to anybody. There's a whole segment. They even got a different type of head than we do. Their head is actually physically different than us.
If you go to any of those dating sites, like South American dating sites, and look at some of the really native girls, they're pretty, they're gorgeous, but they're they look like dark-skinned Japanese. They have the Japanese
Well,
eyes.
they said they
black
thought.
silky hair. They have a darker tan because they're in a more sun-rich environment.
Well, they said they thought the Toltecs looked Oriental, but there's so
Yes.
little about the Toltecs that there's just so few writings about them. There is writings about the Chihuahua, by the way, how it came to be as a Toltec. So this is a weird story. So Chihuahuas, the Toltecs got them and used them for all sorts of stuff, including keeping their hands warm. And then the Toltecs, nobody knows what happened to the Toltecs. They just disappeared one day.
But the dogs survived.
The dog survived, and I think it was the Incans. It was either the Incans or the Mayans. One of them picked them up and started using them again. And then Cortez came and killed everybody, so they died, and the dog disappeared again. And then somebody in the 1800s found the dog in Chihuahua, Mexico, and started shipping it to Europe as a pet. And that's how it ended up being. It's one of the oldest registered breeds around. It's
and one landed down in Mississippi, didn't it?
And they're not related to the wolf. As far as I know, they're the only dog not related to the wolf.
They are the root DNA for the chupacabra.
So they are. They mean as shit. Do you realize if you built a full-size Chihuahua, that would be the meanest dog on the planet, man? You could not have them as a full-size dog. They would kill everybody.
But you got to look at it from a scale point of view. You got to be a mean son of a bitch if you're going to be that tiny of an animal, so you don't get eaten.
Mean is one thing. Stupid is no. Let me go start fighting with a Rottweiler. Yeah, I'm like 6 pounds. Oh, look at the Rottweiler. He's like 105 pounds. I'll go kick his ass. I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to be food. They don't care. They don't. But
certain large breeds like Great Danes are scared to death of little things like Chihuahuas. Sometimes.
Man, I watched these 4 poodles take on this husky, and this husky gave up because they were little enough. They kept getting under him and biting him in certain parts, Yeah, he's the hell with this, man. Yeah. He had enough of that.
Nipping on the nads, are they?
Yeah, they were tearing him up. Yeah, he had just enough of it. What's that? Bernice? Am I saying that? I don't know how you say that. Bernice? Is it Bernice? It kind of looks like Bernice. I'm not sure. Anyway, Bernice, what you got for us? You're from South America, Argentina? Well, you way down there in hell. All your family is O blood. Well, you see, well, are they negative, positive? Do you know? I mean, it's not important. It's if you don't know, it's okay. I'm just nosy. I always ask questions like that. I remember I was speaking at this lecture, and I said, I said, everybody put their hands up. That's O negative. Everybody who's negative put their hands up. Everybody who's positive, and they all looked at me like. So I'm just curious to see what the ratio, because RH negative is 15% of the world's population, which is the same population as the abduction population. It's 15%. It's exactly the same. It's I don't know what it means. Might not mean anything. It's kind of like New Zealand doesn't have snakes or spiders. What does that mean? It's paradise?
It does mean something. It means they're interested in one strain of the species specifically. And we talked about this before in the show. Is it some sort of is it the Kwisatz Haderach breeding program? Are they trying to get a certain trait out of the DNA that's not evident right now, that they can change their bodies and or fix whatever's going on with their physical forms?
How do you know if you've been abducted? That's the question.
99% of people who've ever been taken will never know. They'll never ever know. Yep. They'll go through life without ever knowing. And the only ones that actually know, the ones that do know, it's because somewhere along the line, when all this shit was going on, they showed either that they could maintain themselves, or they showed some kind of interest in what was going on, and they didn't. And so they put them to work, for lack of a better saying. So for me, it's different because, I've done a lot of voice stress on these people, and I've seen a lot of them polygraphed. And, neither one of those are 100% accurate, but for the average everyday Joe, they are 100% accurate. Now, if you're a polished liar, that's a whole different story. But if you're just an everyday person, oh no, you're not going to lie through one of these. And I also have degrees in body language and facial recognition. So you're not going to be able to lie to me. And usually I'll put them under a soft hypnosis, like a level 4, level 5, where they're still mostly kind of in control of what's going on. So, and then I'll put the voice stress meters on, and I'll start asking questions. And then the voice stress meter lets you know right off the bat. So let me say, I'll say, well, Sean, you said the alien was, or I won't even use words like, so you saw there's something coming out your door, and you said it just grabbed you. And then you turned around and you saw this. Now, when I ask you this question and that meter does this, you're lying to me. Okay, there's no way that you just got grabbed by an extraterrestrial and there's no stress.
Right, it'll jump up. Right.
That bitch will be all over the place. So those kind of things help you out. They help. It's like a shortcut because a lot of people say they've been taking them. Most people haven't been. And somebody asked me the other day, can you prove absolutely conclusively that it's aliens? I said, what do you mean in aliens? That extraterrestrials from other planets, extra dimensional? I said, really and truly, if anybody was to say, hey, they're from here, it's iffy skiffy. I mean, there's a lot of information that comes out of contactees, and there's a lot of stuff that the government is personally looking for because they know that certain groups of people are being given certain information. That's why there's, somebody asked me one day, what's the best proof for extraterrestrial abductions? Military abductions. Mm-hmm. There would be no need for the government to do military abductions if they didn't think aliens were taking you. They would just say, well, these people are crazy, and they would go on about their lives. And there would be. But
going on to John's question, there are some telltale signs that if you have been abducted, most people aren't aware of the time lost thing because you have to be reminded of the lost time for that to be, like if you were driving with someone like with Betty and Barney Hill, they're like driving, they expected to be home at X time, but they got home at Y time, 2 hours difference, and like. Why did it take?
I wouldn't these days. I wouldn't look for missing time as much as I would look for
it's too hard.
Gain time or screwed up time. Aliens are smarter. So this is what another weird thing. So about 1995, we noticed that missing time was going away. We weren't getting these cases with missing time, and nobody could figure out why. Well, it wasn't that hard to figure out why. The aliens realized, or whoever realized, we were tracking them by the missing time. That's how we were determining what was a real case. Also, they used to go with these cover memories. It was never cover memories. That's not what they were. They were trigger memories. A trigger memory is to let you know something happened to you. You're sitting out there when you see an owl this tall. That's not a cover memory. That's to remind you something happened to you. It's to keep it fresh in your mind so your brain will start working on what's behind that image. That's what they are. They're trigger memories. That's because whoever this is, it's taking you, wants you to remember and wants you to be part of it. And the government, once that happens, and this is what happens to people, they start remembering certain things that the government found fascinating. They go somewhere and speak about it, and the government says, oh, well, thank you. Let's take you for a little ride. Now, it was a hard thing to prove military abductions, but we've actually proved they actually really exist. We've actually busted people on them. We've had people come out and actually fess up to it. So we do know for a fact now that the government does take it. We've had people from the military, several people that's come on and actually talked about what went on in the military, what they were ordered to do, and how they were doing it. So the military abductions exist. So if the military abductions exist, whatever else is being abducted exists as well.
So when they abduct people, they abduct contactees, but do they pose as ETs, or do they just...
No, the government just takes your ass.
Kidnap them.
Yeah.
What the hell do they do with them?
You're usually so drugged that they often are the military abductee style events are that people do describe them as they don't know that they're human. They think they're alien, but they can't be quite sure. With the alien abductions, almost everyone is 100% certain it's not a human being. But the alien abductions, they also give almost everybody who's abducted, especially if they're abducted regularly, has an implant somewhere in their body. And an implant that's in a place where it would take the most skilled brain surgeon we have on the planet to even put there, let alone remove from there. And one of the most famous cases is the guy had an implant that was put in behind his eye, like on the back side of his eye, but from the back of the brain. That you if you were to try to operate and get that out of there, you would kill the man. So there's some strange things about that, but that's how they're being tracked. The military doesn't do that. They can't put these.
Well, but I mean, the military do use chips to track you.
Pathology though, when they come out, that foot doctor, I forget his name, forget his name.
Stephen Greer. Not Greer. Dr. Lear.
Dr. Lear, yeah. He took out like 25, 27 different devices.
Yeah, he was working with Daryl Sims.
And they had one of the first ones they did. They have a guy standing there with an EM reader that there's a signal coming out of the device, and then when he cuts it away from the guy's skin, the device stops making noise. There's no more EM thing, and then they.
Yeah. Are you all familiar with the Terry Lovelace case?
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, I interviewed him, and he was showing me X-rays of devices that were in his knee. One looked like it was like a floral pattern, like composed of bone, but the other one of his own bone. The other one looked like a chip, like something that the U.S.
because
military would have stuck in there.
So this is the way
Yeah.
it works. Once you've been identified as a contactee, the government uses either a rice chip or a square chip. The rice chips are the same ones they put in prisoners and they put in your dog. The exact same chip. They're just a GPS
Yeah, but we can
chip.
tell those.
No, you can. So
those have like a. There's
But this was in the late 70s, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. So
it looked like technology from the late 70s, like a multiplexer.
Yeah. So these are just basic tracking chips, and the old chips were what you call spontaneous chips. They just gave out a signal if you were close enough, like we used to track tigers and lions. But now it's more sophisticated. We track them through GPS. So they do that now, but the kind of chips the aliens use is not so much for tracking you. The Greys always know where you are. So most contactees will tell you can always kind of feel them in the back of your head, like behind your eyes. Not the chips, the actual contact with the extraterrestrials. Most Greys will keep some type of light telepathic communication with all their contactees. That way they know your emotional stress, what you're doing, where you're at all the time. But they use them. So the Greys put a chip into you that moves. They've tried to extract these a few times.
Yeah, there's a video.
Splinter out. Yeah, and they move around. The guy actually had one with a pair of tweezers. It just took off.
Yeah, Whitley Strieber. They tried to remove it from Whitley Strieber. And
so there's a couple of Darryl Sims had a few of them, tried to have people remove them. So those are not odds. Those are definitely the Greys. Now the reptilians and humans use them more, what you would consider a standard. So just to make people understand, the Greys, all their technology is organic. So their ships are grown and intelligent. They're actually alive. The Greys have the ability to meld with shit. It just when they fly their ship, they actually become part of the damn ship. So it's a different kind of technology. It's much more advanced than the reptilians or the humans. The humans use what I call flip and switch technology, but there's no wires. Everything is wireless. There's nothing connects anything. It reminds me of that movie. Not the late Planet Earth. The one with Leslie Nielsen from 1955. Forbidden Planet. Yeah, all their technology was wireless technology. Well, this is basically what this is. There's no wires.
Yeah, well, there's fiber optics in it too, so there's data being transferred by fiber cable.
But you can, when you get in there, you can tell that when you're looking around, it's not a technology from here. You can just tell it's not. But the Greys use a much different type of technology. And what's funny is when I first got in this field, I was under the impression that the Greys worked for the humans and the reptilians. The longer we got into it, the more we found out that, like, if there was a Grey present, the reptilians and humans would always bow their heads. So this Grey is about yay tall, and this reptilian is 600-700 pounds, 7'10", not 8 foot.
Yeah,
and he's like looking away from this little Grey because they just melt their damn brains. They're just on the brain size. They're just not compatible. The Greys are much more powerful, and the Greys actually come in 3 sizes. They got the 3 foot that are alive, and they got the 3 foot that are automatons. What do you call them? Cyborgs, which are controlled by the ones. Yeah, they're controlled by the ones that are alive. And then they have the 5-6 foot ones, and then they have the escorts for the Queen, which are 7 to 8 foot, and the Queen who's around 9 foot. So it's people when you actually have. See, we've got over 109,000 cases now, Father, we consider legitimate. That's not how many cases we've been through. That's how many we consider that are legitimate. So it gives you a pattern. We judge everything by its actions. I don't care what anybody's saying. I'm just following what each contactee is telling me. I'm looking for, every time we interview somebody, I'm looking for similarities. You can't build anything real. If John Joe tells me these 5 things happened and I haven't made them public, and Jenny over here tells me, oh, that this happened to me, I know I got something. And the more I ask and the more tell me the same thing, the more I know I understand I have some. So for ICAR, it's different. We have what you call abduction criteria. 50% is public now, and 50% is private. And the reason it's like that is I started learning, the more I opened up about it, the more people who tried to hoax.
Or crazy people who making stuff up too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so and then because a lot of contactees are nothing to do with aliens. It's I was abused as a child. I was molested as a child. I had this, that, or that.
And then you have misinformation too. You have
misinformation.
People that are trying to
so there's a lot of stuff that you have to wade through to get to the truth. And places like TikTok used to be, you could actually talk to people. For now, for every 100 people I talk to, 98 of them ask me for money, and 2 of them might actually have some kind of experience I'm interested in. It's sad that it's like that. I mean, it shouldn't be like that. And But there's a lot of liars on the internet, and
Oh yeah.
But Dottie, when we say extraterrestrials, we're assuming, and I'm using the word assuming, that they're from this galaxy somewhere, and maybe are interested in us because we may be from the Sagittarius galaxy. Because nobody, right off the bat, everybody's, well, why are they so interested in us? Well, we're in the middle of a bunch of red dwarfs that comes from the Sagittarius galaxy, and no one can figure out how Earth got here, how Earth is here. None of these red dwarfs will hit us unless we're traveling with them. So they're thinking, a lot of scientists think now we came from the Sagittarius galaxy. We were deposited here because the Milky Way is eating the Sagittarius galaxy as we're speaking. And they think we may have been deposited here. I've listened to arguments on both sides of this. It goes back and forth. There's no way to make a conclusive argument because it's not enough proof either way. But we do know in this neighborhood where we live, there are a shitload of stars from the Sagittarius galaxy. So it does give us a 50% chance of being from there. So if you're deposited, life form is deposited into a new galaxy and other aliens from that galaxy see it, they're going to probably want to.
They're going to be curious.
They're going to be like, where'd these guys come from? They're from the other galaxy. You should, no wonder they're so stupid.
Are they a threat?
Yeah, so there's no reason to, and then there could be other reasons, but I tell people this all this the same time. You judge them by the actions. Well, they haven't wiped us out. We're still here. They haven't eaten us, but you know what? They haven't enlightened us either. I always get these contactees that talk about they're enlightened. Bullshit. At 40 years, nobody's been enlightened. Matter of fact, they seem like they've gotten stupider.
Yep.
So it's maybe that's what they're doing, making us dumber. I don't know. It's a strange thing. We know there's something going on, and then my religious friends, they're demons. I'm like, why does a demon want to fly in a UFO, and why are they flying so many of them? I said, does every demon have a badass UFO now to toll around in?
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Give me a better reason that. And then, of course, there's an argument about demons being earthbound. Can they actually leave Earth? When we go out and colonize, can they come with us? Because according to the Bible, they're earthbound. They can't even hop on and take a ride. They're stuck here. They're supposed to be here trapped, so when Earth dies, they go with them. So is that true or not? I have no idea. Does anybody even care that much? So we'll know. We'll be in deep space pretty soon. We'll be on Mars within 10 years. There'll be people living on Mars within 100. There'll be a decent-sized colony there. And if we don't blow ourselves up, there'll probably be a bigger colony than that to live in there. It'll be Elon Muskville. He'll have his super lasers out there, guarding the planet. Do you humans stay away? Earthlings, be warned. He'll have to be nice for the first 100 or 200 years because, they're going to have us for resources. But eventually, they won't need us anymore. They'll have all their stuff there. Because the soil there, come to find out, if we bring the live bacteria, it can be used to grow stuff. It can also be used to make brick and all sorts of other stuff. So fuel.
And also think about this. They're closer to the asteroid belt, so they could mine minerals out of the asteroid belt.
Well, that's what he's planning on doing. He's planning on, they want to mine the asteroid belt, process it on Mars. And the reason they want to process it on Mars is because it'll create global greenhouse gases. Well, what that will do will lower the pressure on Mars, or raise the pressure on Mars, actually, and will allow us to live on Mars without suits. We'll still have to have a mask on our face to breathe, but we will no longer have to wear heavy vac suits to run around in, which will make living on Mars much easier. And then eventually, they'll terraform the gases on Mars. That'll be 1,000 years from now, but it'll be a breathable planet. Problem for Mars, it's always going to have the same problem. It's always going to have to be terraformed all the time, because it bleeds, so its gravity is so low, it bleeds a lot of its atmosphere off. So
it's not spinning fast enough.
Yeah. So unless they can figure out put like a bubble over the damn thing or something, and I don't know if it's Elon Musk, he probably will. So
maybe put a really really strong rocket on the equator and make the planet spin faster on axis. That might help hold the atmosphere on a little better.
And now and then Mars was supposed to be geologically dead. Now they found that it's not. And they're like, well, wait, wasn't that lava? Well, where'd the lava come from if it's geologically dead? So now they're kind of wondering if the core is actually dead.
Didn't they just recently announce that they detected a solid magnetic atmosphere or magnetic core, so that they didn't think that it had one before? So that having that, there's got to be some kind of magma going on.
Yeah, so they also have a seasonal methane cycle, right?
Yeah, they do.
So
they do.
They might even have life.
It's methane and oxygen, actually. So it's some kind of life, and even NASA's now had to give up on saying there's no life on Mars. I predicted life on Mars 35 years ago. I said, look, Viking landed. Well, yeah, it was Viking, right? Yeah, I always get them too confused. I always get the one out in deep space and the one that lands on Mars.
Voyager's
Two,
in deep
actually.
space.
Yeah, yeah.
Viking.
Yeah,
Viking, Mars,
Viking.
Voyager, deep space. I guess because they're both V's, but Viking originally, the first Viking ever landed found oxygen. And then NASA tried to say, it was inside one of the cases and it bled out. Okay, so that was the first time. When you found it the second time, well, it wasn't the case anymore because the oxygen was already out. So then they didn't want to talk about it. Then when they landed the other one, they found methane, and they were like, so after that, nobody wanted to talk about it anymore. Matter of fact, a lot of Vikings experiments were cut short because they didn't want to talk about it anymore. They figured there's something underground, and there's probably a ecological system underground. There's probably some vegetables, maybe some animals, a little water puddle somewhere, maybe a stream, maybe a pond, whatever it is. It could be being fed from the glaciers. As far as we know, there could be underwater streams on there. No, there is not canals on Mars. That was due. You want to know what that was due to, Jenny? That was due to lensing effects from the lens being used in, 1880 or somewhere around there. Yeah. So the type of lens they use, when you looked at Mars, it looked like canals cutting across Mars. Well, guess what? We've got satellites around Mars. We ain't found no damn canals yet. So you know, we haven't.
They do have that. They do have that big scar across the.
Oh
middle.
yeah, that is.
I
what,
wonder what that is.
That is probably from some sort of an electrical event. Excuse me. Velikovsky talks about that. He correlates that to the event that created the moon, whereas this large body with a rumor has it's Nibiru, and Nibiru's moon comes by and slams into, or not slams into, but comes really close to Mars, and the static buildup between the moon and the planet causes this rift to go and dig that canyon, and at the same time, the planet Nibiru swipes off the bulk of the water and atmosphere. Then the moon and that debris from Mars, the atmosphere and the water, slams into the proto-Earth, creating a new proto-disk for Earth and a disk for the moon. And that's the current theory of how the moon came to existence, is some sort of collision of that effect. But something came close to Mars
nothing works like that.
Canyon.
No, I'll tell you exactly what happened. Planet 5, which was probably Nibiru at the time, was crushed by Jupiter's ass. And when it was crushed, it sent asteroids flying. Because what's funny about this is Venus, Mars, and Earth all went catatonic around the same time period. All three planets went around the same time. There was life on this planet. There was life on that planet. There was probably life on Venus too. We know now, we're almost positive there was life on Mars when it died. And we know for a fact that there was life here when the dinosaurs went extinct. So we know at this time period. And then there's the other problem. So you had these asteroids. And don't forget, Phobos and Deimos are what? Moons of the asteroid belt. And we now know the asteroid belt. Yeah, we now know the asteroid was not leftover debris, because some of the metals found could only be created under compression of forming a new planet. So they know, they're pretty sure it was a large planet. Anything that close to Jupiter, though, sooner or later was going to get crushed. Something that big caught between Mars and Jupiter, it was just doomed to die. And you never know which orbit finally did it, but one of them finally just crushed it to death. And the way I know this is Nibiru hasn't been seen again. So Nibiru's orbit, for some people say 3,600, some say 6,000. It doesn't matter. We have more than that in recorded astronomy, thanks to the Chinese. And there was no Nibiru. It has not passed by this planet since we've been recording science. Nobody's seen it. No one's heard of it. It's been written in myths. So more than likely, it died sometime. It was probably a myth that somebody else talked about that it died, because where's it at?
Well, I mean, it's possible that it came back around again and hit the fifth planet. The fifth planet was called Tiamat, according to the Sumerians, and Nibiru is the one that has like the big 3,600 orbit. So it's possible on a subsequent orbit after its moon was destroyed by.
And the other problem
that the planet again came back around, and then they both hit.
The whole problem with Nibiru is this: one, it's 5 times the size of Earth. It can't even get in our neighborhood. If it gets in our neighborhood, we're dead. Same thing with Mars.
It'll crush the planets, yeah.
It'll crush.
Or if it's Earth size, it'll crush the planets.
Yeah, so anything like the 3 planets we're talking about, Venus, Earth, and Mars, would have been destroyed. There would be no planets left. So we know Nibiru's never gotten that close to our planet. Even though the science is so... Now, though, since Ike's translations have been changed and corrected, They don't think it was a planet anymore. They think it was a spaceship about half the size. Well, they think it was a sphere about half the size of our moon that used to come by and park, and I guess bring people down and talk and stuff. But I guess because from Earth looking up, it probably looked huge, but it wasn't. That's not what it was. So he's pissed about it too, because they changed they said the translations originally were done incorrectly. It wasn't a planet at all. It changed its orbit. It moved around. So that's not a planet. That's something else. And again, any planet.
I can assure you that even Sitchin's translations aren't 100% accurate.
Oh no, they're not.
With studies that I've been trying to do with just the name Anunnaki, everyone on Ancient Aliens says that it translates out as those who from the heavens came upon the earth. It doesn't mean that at all. The word Naki in their language has something to do with nativity or lineage, birthrights, and Anu is the chief god or the chief science officer in charge of the mission. That Enki and Enlil were his sons, and what it actually means is of the sons of Anu. It's of his lineage, and it's their story.
Carol, there's another way you know that Nuribru hasn't passed around. You want to know how? One, the asteroid belt is undisturbed, and guess what? So is the Oort cloud. So anything passing on any plane, elliptical, angled, is going to disturb those. Nothing's been disturbed
But there have been some
100 million years.
disturbances with Neptune and Uranus. That's something out there that they think is big enough to wiggle those two planets.
Oh, they think there's something in the Oort cloud, but they think it's in orbit of the Oort cloud. They think it's out there in the
outside the Oort cloud, maybe.
Yeah. So they think it's in like the middle, because the Oort cloud is huge. It's like what is it, half a light year across or something? So they think it's like in the middle of the Oort cloud moving around. They we can't see it, so it's probably covered in ice. So we're probably not getting any picture of it. But you know what? They were completely wrong about Pluto. They were completely wrong about Charon. They were completely wrong about Titan and Io. I mean, really and truly, our science does not bat real well when it comes to near space. And then there's that thing on the moon when they landed that they saw this big black thing do a hump like a whale underneath the ice. They still don't want to talk, and they do every now and then. The head of NASA talked about it one time. He was like, the girl from Houston Chronicle asked him about it. He said, at first I thought it was just a hunk of ice, and then I realized it did like this. He said, I don't want to say it's life. He said, but it's a deep ocean. He says, as much water there as our oceans on Earth. He said, so it's probably salt water. He said, so it's a good chance.
It's Europa. Is that correct?
I think it's Europa, yeah. And there's a couple of, there's 3 ice moons now. There's 3 ice moons with oceans on them now. So and
Europa, Enceladus, and I don't know what the other one is. Io is the one that has all the volcanoes on it.
Mm-hmm. And then there's Titan, and
Titan's the one filled with methane, and
yeah. The one that's in primordial and its way to being. And that's another thing, ladies and gentlemen. In about 3,400,000,000 years, Earth's going to be dead. And the sun's going to be where we are, which is going to warm up all those outer planets and all of those, 500 moons. You never know what's going to come out of that. You just there are so many moons. When I started counting moons, I was like, what? I mean, Jupiter and Saturn have so many, it's ridiculous.
Saturn has the most.
And they just keep capturing more. They
keep finding more. There's so many that they hide in the shadows of the rings that they can't detect all of them.
No,
they're like the 82nd one around Saturn, like just within the last couple of years.
But knowing these, and then thanks to Jupiter and Saturn, they're the ones that help us prove that you can go faster than the speed of light, because they were doing experiments. So what they found out is the light bending around Jupiter actually pulls and pushes, and it actually breaks light speed. Of course, we're talking just pure energy here. It's no matter. So then. The tachyon experiment, not the tachyon experiment, the whatchamacallit experiment where they're sending matter back and forth in the UK and in Australia, they tried to bend like using a superconductor, and it broke light speed. So now they think they can send data faster than the speed of light. So this is more technology. No, God knows when this stuff's going to come in. Why do we need it right now? Light speed technology is plenty for us.
Hey, listen, guys, I got to go.
All right, be good. Save me some ribeyes, man. I need a good prime rib, man.
I'll definitely do that, brother.
Good
night,
like
everybody.
That,
All right, good night, Sean.
Good rack of ribs or something.
Yeah.
A good rack of lamb. I could go for a good rack of lamb, man. I could. I don't know, but all of this stuff, it all just shows us that, we're just really stupid when it comes to the grand scheme of the universe. And we're usually wrong more than we're right when it comes to science, which there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you're going to make mistakes when you're trying to prove your theories and get stuff right. What bothers me is science have let their egos get in the way now.
Yep.
And it's more about how much money can I make than what difference can I make.
And also never being proven wrong.
And never being proven wrong. And unfortunately, when you're in science, you're going to be wrong sometimes. It's just part of science. It's just something you got to deal with. What is that, Clara? I don't know. I keep hearing Putin's got stage 4 cancer and Parkinson's. I've seen him talking on TV. I don't see him. So I don't know. Well, we do know that he went to Cuba to the cancer treatment place. So he more than likely does have cancer. But according to everybody on the world,
it may not affect him yet.
According to everybody on the planet, Cuba's got the best cancer in any country on the planet. I just have a hard time believing that, but I've heard several world leaders say that now, so I'm kind of confused. I'm thinking it may be in the unfree world. I have a hard time thinking they're better than Germany or MD Anderson, but maybe they are because here. So this is the things that should bother you in the United States. A year ago, they were talking about a cure for cancer. It was 99% effective, and it went inside the cell and ate the cancer. Can't even hardly find a mention of it on the internet anymore. A couple of weeks ago, they were talking about another one that basically did the same thing. And then about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago on the show, we featured the one that they send in like a dye, and it adheres to the cancer cell, only to the cancer cell. And then they send this other thing in, and it eats. It chews. I guess the dye is like a food for it, and it eats the cancer.
It's like they paint it so that
it is. It's like a target. So, but anyway, it's 99.9% affection in all cancers. So why there's not human trials? Why? And I watch. And a year from now, you're not going to be here because somebody like Pharma. I mean, anyway, one of the big pharmas is going to buy it up, and that's going to be the end of it. I mean, we found about the AIDS cure a long time ago. But instead of getting the cure, we got what? A pill a month so you don't get AIDS. Or if you have AIDS, you don't spread it. But you have to take it all the time.
I forget what they call it. They have a couple of commercials for a couple of different drugs on there. What it does is it brings you to the point of non-detection so that you're unable to pass it on, so you don't have to use barrier protection.
But the point being is you have to take that pill for life.
You have to take it constantly the rest of your life,
Instead of curing it, that's what we're going to do. So Germany's a little bit different. Germany actually came up with a vaccine for AIDS, which is like 85% effective. For some reason, Americans just won't even talk about it. Their cancer program seems to be my nephew, who was a billionaire. Well, him and his lover, married boyfriend, were billionaires. They used to be environmental lawyers. Well, one was a criminal lawyer, one was an environmental lawyer. But anyway, he got stage 4 cancer. He found that he had rented the Hard Rock in New Orleans and flew down to B-52s for his birthday party. And I think it was his 51st. And he had found that he had stage 4 cancer. And somebody at the party told him about these people in Germany. He went over there. And without chemo, they cured his stage 4 cancer in less than 6 weeks. And they sent him home. And they said, okay, his mom got stage 4. He sent her over. And she was cured in less than 6 weeks and sent home. No chemo. No loss of hair. No sickness. None of that. And so with Stewart, it came back about 2 years later. So he went back. They cured him again. His mom, about 3 years later, came back, sent her back over, cured it again. And he was cancer-free until he died. The reason he died was instead of listening to his doctors and doing what he was told and rest and relax and, give his body time to heal from these 2 bouts of cancer, he was hard-headed and ended up giving himself a stroke. And it wasn't even cancer-related. And it killed him. And, so his mom, who's almost 90 now, is still alive and kicking. So but it shows you that there are cures out there who are just not allowed to get them. United States does not want to cure cancer because chemo, about a chemo is, for a lot of places, 100 G's. You can't charge 100 G's for a pill. And look how much money the hospital's making where you're staying.
You can't charge 100 G's for the pill, but over the lifetime of a patient, especially if you get that patient on that drug early enough, that's guaranteed income for your company.
And I think that's what their problem is. I don't think they can find. I think the only thing they can find is cure for cancer. They can't find something like a vaccine or something that can carry it on where they can just give you a pill all the time. And I think that's why they keep hiding them. But sooner or later, I mean, more and more stuff is coming out, and cancer is way more survivable now than it was just 20 years ago.
Well, and even 20 years ago and 30 years ago, the medical professionals were saying, as far as the cancer front goes, that they have better chances right now of curing death than cancer or AIDS, because they know more about the mechanics of what causes death. They don't know how to stop it. But with cancer, they don't know. They don't have all the data
and
yet.
I'm glad you brought that up.
They still do.
So Johnson's & Johnson's, or Masters & Johnson, whatever they call themselves these days, about a year ago came out and said, okay, within 8 years, we will have a pill that will make you you won't die. You'll become immortal. So you won't die from old age at all. It stops the telomeres in your body from aging. It just stops them. And they don't age anymore. Now, it don't mean somebody can't come blow your brains out, but it also makes you very resistant against disease and other things. So they're saying basically, with this pill, a human could live an unlimited lifespan as long as he was reasonably responsible. And they've got a pill that goes with it that you take it, and they say extremely painful, but it will de-age you from anywhere from 20 to 30 years. It will actually rebuild the telomeres, which redoes your body. I can imagine that's got to be horribly painful. But if you lose 30 years, and especially if you're older, I think most
Grow
people
your hair
would risk
back,
it. Yeah, it'll be so. This is already working in trials, but for some reason, I don't think we're going to get to see it. And really, do you want to put out a drug like that when there's already 8 billion people living here? Well, there would be one good side effect to it: birth rates would drop around the world. Once you realize,
violence could also, you get enough people in there that think they've got this magic pill in them now that they can do just about anything. You might see a quick increase in the death rate. The stupid people might die off right away, which would be a good thing.
and less people being born, because you don't want to have a bunch of children laying around. And I in a lot of ways, I think it would benefit us in a lot of ways, but it would also, for the brilliant people, would let them live. But really, do we want Joe Biden living another 100 years? Do we want Vladimir Putin living another 100 years, or Xi Jinping? I mean, right now in the world, I don't really, and I hate to say this because I'd like to live longer, but I just don't think, I don't think it's a good idea. And if Putin thought he was going to live another 100 years, God knows what he would do.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean,
or if he found out that he could take a pill, and as long as he didn't get himself killed, he could live as long as he wanted to. Shit, he might go blow up the planet and go live in a underground bunker for 5,000 years. I just, I can see a lot of good applications. I can see a lot of bad applications. So but it's everything in our world. It's like nuclear power. Nuclear power is great unless you make a bomb out of it, and then it sucks.
Well, I mean, it was invented strictly as a bomb. They didn't go at it from the viewpoint of like, let's find a reliable, powerful energy source for the planet. They're like, let's blow up the planet, stop this war. They didn't think about the after applications until after they dropped it on Japan.
Jackie, I got a degree in science, and I always flip fission and fusion. Always. Cool. Well, no, I just do.
Yeah, fission, splitting the atom, fusion, fusing the atom.
Yeah,
it just flips in my head all the time. Well, especially when we're talking about like anything cold or anything current that we're using. Well, there's a lot of stuff we use now, and people don't realize it, but a lot of reactors we use don't all use the same fissionable material. Some use different material, and you got to watch, because it's one of the things with 3 Mile Island. It was actually using plutonium that we use to build bombs. That's not the best stuff to make power out of. It's not stable enough to really to do power out of.
Well, it is if you maintain the equipment correctly, and they didn't do that there, and that's why it melted down.
Now, I do like this guy. What is it? Johnny Wood, Johnny White, whatever his name is. He says within 20 to 50 years, we should be able to use the spent rods to create power. So Yucca Mountain has a shitload of spent rods in it. So it would be nice if we could, because what he said is by using those, it would burn out the radiation out of the rods, and they would just be like tungsten rods again. The kind you make missiles out of. No, I'm serious, guys. There's a lot of breakthroughs coming over the next 50 years. A lot of good stuff that is going to make it into our science. There's going to be some stuff that's going to get held back, and I'm sure there's reasons for it. But there's going to be a lot of stuff that gets into our science, and we will be on the moon soon. And then what is it?
Anything that they have right now that's going to cause the government to lose money, like free energy systems, free food banks, like like they have on the Enterprise. You go to the wall and say, give me free tacos, and then they appear in the wall. They have that kind of stuff. They're not going to let that out because it's going to change the economy of the planet. Right now, they're sitting pretty where the governments are making. I mean, how much of the U.S. government?
And that's going to change soon because
$1
Elon Musk and NASA are putting a neighborhood on the moon, and that neighborhood's going to do what? Mine what? Helium-3. And what helium-3 is fabulous for making power. And the moon is full of it. It's just covered all in goddamn. So you don't even have to drill for it. Shit's just sitting on the surface of the moon. You got to just scoop it up. No, I'm serious, guys. Helium-3 is great. It's helium-3 and helium-4. It's outrageous power maker. It's almost as good as hydrogen. It might be as good as hydrogen. And that's another thing. Why don't we use hydrogen? We're using nuclear shit. Hydrogen is as good as nuclear power. It just don't make any sense. Hydrogen makes no pollution at all. It makes clean water. That's what it makes. The shit coming out the back of your tailpipe on a hydrogen car, you can actually drink. That's the difference. And you go try to drink that shit dripping out of your car right now and see what happens to you.
Part of the byeffect and side effect of the hydrogen cell engine is it also produces ozone, or oxygen O3, which will repair the ozone layers. That technology came out in the 80s, and the OPEC nations, United States of America, Mexico, and Japan, specifically Toyota, paid that guy $1 billion in like 1983 to quash that technology. And you didn't see anything about that until Toyota was the first one to come out with a hydrogen cell hybrid engine.
Well, it helped that California.
They're very expensive still. I mean, the idea of the original engine was you didn't need. That's not even the way that Toyota did it. Toyota, changed the technology for their own purposes. But the dude's original concept was you could go to the CVS, buy a bottle, 1 gallon of distilled water, pour it in the tank of this engine, and it would run you about 360 miles on that 1 gallon, and it would create ozone and also purify that water to drinking water.
It's and California did put the hydrogen highway, and at least they tried. The rest of the country was like,
yeah.
And I don't understand why. Hydrogen's got great power. It contains it. It will help repair the ozone.
You don't have
help
to strip mine for lithium.
But it just, I guess it's not enough money in it. I don't know. The first bitch I heard about hydrogen was, it's a bomb on every corner. Well, that's what they said about gasoline stations back in the 1920s. It was a bomb on every corner. And I'm not saying one might not blow up. But
the only ones that survive are the ones that make money, particularly when the taxes for that make the government money. Tesla's light bulbs, they didn't make it. You know why? Because there was no charge for it. He was going to free electricity. Plus, he had a reusable gas light bulb that when the filament broke or the gas ran out, you brought it back to the shop like you do with a propane tank for your grill. You give them your damaged light bulb or your 3 damaged light bulbs, and they hand you back however many you hand them, pre-filled, ready to go light bulbs. You just you buy 1 light bulb. It's like a free exchange. Boom, 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 boom. That's why you don't see that system, because it didn't bring in any money for the government.
Yeah, it didn't make any money. And the only Tesla light bulb I know that's still in operation is in a fire station in California. It's 104, 108 years old. I forgot how old it is. It's the oldest light bulb continuously running in the entire planet, for that matter. It's been there for a long time. Actually, I think it's before Tesla, to be honest with you. I think it was Benjamin Franklin's design. Yeah, I think it was a Benjamin Franklin design. But anyway, it's still there, people. I know I read about it just recently again. I'm like, come on. I said, there's some firemen over there sneaking up there changing that bulb every once in a while. Some bullshit going on. But they got pictures of it. You can definitely look. When you look at the bulb, you know it's nothing conventional. But there is those kind of things. Actually, Jesse, we got to go. What do you got? Real quick. Sean turns into a pumpkin at 1. Well, it's already 1 where he lives. So no, it's not. I'm sorry. It's early.
It's 104 over here in Pennsylvania.
I'm flipping them around here. What do you got? No, really. What? Okay. No, we didn't get. Oh, you know what? We didn't get any polls, but I will do you this. Hold on, real quick. I just had it up. So, just looked at Biden's. I just looked at Biden's sinking job approval rating, which with the recent polls have him at 33%. I don't know how you become president by
Thanks.
33%.
Yeah, well, you import 9 million illegal immigrants, and you.
I don't think that's enough.
Big
Man,
balance.
33%. So so this Governor Hochul is what her name is up there in New York, flipped out the other day because the polling company up there said Trump has a chance of flipping New York. Because last time, and I didn't know this, we did at the election, Trump pulled 46% of New York in the last election, the one he lost to Biden. And that's before we had Biden economics. So, boy, wouldn't that be? I couldn't tell you the last time New York voted red, man. Jesus, you got to go back 100 years at least. Boy, wouldn't that be the sight to see? Oh shit!
They might have voted. They might have voted red during one of Reagan's administrations.
Maybe so.
Yeah,
Reagan was well liked. He was a uniter, just like Clinton was. They were uniters. They weren't. They weren't divided. They united the Congress. They united the citizens. What do you mean? George Bush Jr. did, but he didn't. Okay, he gets credit for uniting the country for 8 years, but he really didn't. Whoever blew up the freaking Twin Towers is who united the country.
The plane hitting the World Trade Center pretty much.
We just got, as a nation, we got pissed. And after about 6 or 7 years, we started to cool off, but we were pissed. You don't go killing 3,000 or 4,000 of our citizens. We just don't go for that shit.
3 or 4. That was more like 7,000.
They so and what do you
That's
mean?
all right. I think we ended up killing 4.5 to 4.7 million.
Oh yeah, we killed a shitload of people. We killed.
I mean, not direct killing, but like the result of us stomping down on the terrorists.
When I seen the original Iraq figures, we had killed more children than we lost people in the Twin Towers. So that's just sad. Well, Obama, believe it or not, who was way down the end of the war, he killed more drones than anybody did. Anybody. His first term, I think it was 25,000. It didn't even care who they were. He was just blowing shit up in Syria. He was just killing people. I think he liked the drones. And then in his second term, he doubled that number. Well, drones are drones, and you can send
better to kill. It's better to kill terrorist leaders than it is to kill the rank and file. So I don't like that. Good for him. Good for him.
I didn't, and you had some. We had some presidents that actually gave a shit, and I felt sorry for Obama. That's just. He got screwed. He had a chance. I listened to his very first speech.
Forced him in too soon,
I listened to his first.
He wasn't ready. Yeah. If he had just waited till his first senator gig was over, that first.
He needed 12 years.
He might have been better.
If he'd have done 12 years in the Senate, he would have known everybody, and he'd known who to play the game with, who because by then he would have made friends. 6 years is not quite long enough because
he would have
making
friends and enemies. You need both.
But you do. But he'd have made enough friends by then and it's not that he would have understood the game. So in other words, when Nancy Pelosi got up there and said, "Oh, sign it and then read it later," he'd have came on TV and said, "No. See, a good president would have came and said, "No, Nancy, calm down. We're going to read it and then we're going to sign it." And that's what he would have done. But because he didn't know, he was lost. He was listening to people like Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. He made a lot of bad calls. It's why he lost the House within the first year, and the Senate in the first election. And then when he went to his next election for re-election, he lost the Senate. He never got anything back. So he was basically lame duck for the last of his. He
lost full control of the legislation for the whole.
And he lost all of it because of what? Obamacare.
Yeah.
Because what happened was, and I said this the very first day I heard, I said, "Look, people, this is not healthcare. This is catastrophic recovery. Now, if you poor and you can spend that $100 a month and you get majorly sick, this shit is great." I said, but it's no good for anything else because Obama and the Democrats were touting, healthcare so that you go see your doctor on a regular basis. You can go WellCare is what they call it, where you get regular visits and they help you with different things and help you. That's not what they got. They got, if you got shot or you got hit or you're in the emergency room, then it kicks in. Other than that, it just didn't help you. And then they didn't even give the benefit of let me use let me say I use my whole my whole deductible. Oh no! After the treatment, your deductible starts over again. Bullshit. I remember they started doing that with cars. I told my I said I'm not even going to use y'all anymore. She said, "Well, everybody does it now." And see, Congress. That's where people should come down and say, "Look, you don't get rid of this, you don't get reelected. I don't give a shit what party you are. There are certain things that go in this country that shouldn't be allowed. What do you mean, Jackie? All right, you got 2 minutes. What? Oh, you're talking about roadblocks and stuff like that? Under the Constitution, roadblocks are unconstitutionally illegal. Also, your car is actually part of your home, so your rights are supposed to extend from your home to your car. But so what the police have done is said these are not roadblocks; these are safety checks. That's what they are, and DUI checks. And then the Supreme Court ruled and said no, that's illegal. So they didn't want to give this up because this was too much money. They make too much money off of these checks.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, well, as long as you give people notification ahead of time, then it's okay. So here in
And
Mississippi,
they only have to put it on one radio station, not
well,
all of them.
it depends where you are. So in Mississippi, they have to put it in a newspaper for 3 days in a particular section. New Orleans, 1 hour, any radio station, doesn't matter which one it is. That's all it is. Texas, I think they have to give you like 2 days warning. It varies from state to state, but they have to give you warning. That's the biggest bullshit I've ever heard. Because what happens is when someone asks to see your license, when you haven't broke a law, what are they doing? You have to prove your innocence. They're assuming you're guilty until you give them that driver's license, and they run that name and they know you're not guilty. They're assuming you're guilty, which is illegal in this country because everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So, not enough people challenged it, and actually it could be repealed. That's another thing. Just tell your congressman, look, if this keeps going on, we're going to stop voting for y'all. We're going to start putting people in here that want this going. And then see, half of me thinks it should be gone because I see not far from my house, like there's my house, the bayou, and then the road. They do roadblocks right at the edge of this bridge regular. I just posted one the other night. Last year, probably 2 a month. And then all they're doing is asking to see your license. What they're really doing is they want to smell your car. That's what they're really doing.
Yeah.
They want to smell to see if you smell like marijuana or if you smell like alcohol. And now even marijuana is hard for them now because if you got health cards, you can say, "Oh no, my wife, we were sitting down at the beach, she was smoking or something." Or if you both got a card, no, I didn't smoke any, but she did. And then they got to prove it's different because you can't just take a marijuana person in for a DUI. It doesn't work that way because chronic smokers are going to have a much higher tolerance than every day. Just some little rookie smoker that just started. These cases are happening all around our country, and judges are having to kick them out because, like the one guy, the guy arrested him. The guy said, "Oh, he was DUI." Well, no, when you see him on cam, the guy's perfect. He passes all the DUI tests, but he smelled like marijuana. So he brought him to jail. So he comes into court. And I probably told the story in the air before. He films his whole day smoking weed, right? He's smoking joint after joint all day long. And he's showing him driving to work, showing him driving, showing him coming to the courtroom, showing him getting dressed, doing the whole 9 yards, going to see his lawyer, and he comes in the courtroom. So he asked the judge how I look. He said, "You look good, you clean looking." Yeah. He said, "You don't look like a pothead to me." And he gave him the video. And the judge said, "Case dismissed." Because he just proved that he was completely in charge of his entire life and that it made no difference, that it was doing just what it was supposed to do, getting rid of the pain like any other pill you would take. So the judge had to dismiss it. Now, Joe Schmo, who's his first time smoking some of that shit that's THC level 40 or something, yeah, he's probably is DUI because Colorado was the first death ever related to marijuana. And that was somebody eating edibles, fell asleep at the wheel and just smashed into another car.
Some of these vapes are like, THC levels 89, 90, 91, 94% THC.
What do you need that for? See, that's not marijuana anymore.
I think because of the vape devices, it has to be that strong because it affects you a little differently. It's not quite as strong as the flower, but the flower. I mean, when we were kids in the 80s, we were getting probably 12, maybe to 15%. Most of the time it was probably 6 or 8, the really crappy Mexican brown weed we used to get in the 80s. But the new stuff, 24%. I mean, it's double and triple what we were getting 30, 40 years ago.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, whatever they smoking in Cali now, you go walking through Hollywood, you don't look, if y'all potheads, this is for y'all. So if y'all like smoking pot, and you don't want to pay for it, all I do is recommend you go walk around Hollywood Boulevard, and I guarantee you within an hour, you will be so high you won't know your effing name.
Yeah, inside of the bar in San Francisco, it's been that way for like a decade at least. You just can't. That's all you can smell. You'd smell it everywhere.
Well, like we're standing at the Roosevelt, we come out the door. Every day we came out, there was 3 guys out there with you could tell pre-rolls just puffing away. Well, okay, I don't really care. I'm not going to get a high because I used to smoke when I was young, but man, I'm decked out. I mean, I'm looking good. I don't want to smell like marijuana. I'm like, guys, come on, move down the road or something. I said, you can maybe put some cologne on. But the guys I was with have never smoked, and they're getting high as while we're sitting.
Yeah,
the one guy was like, he's like, God damn, how do people do this? I'm like, what's the matter? He said, I'm loaded. John started laughing. I said, let's go get you something to eat, man, because he was loaded. So about 10 of us went on a little romp. We left the Lowe's Hotel, walked all the way down, walked down Hollywood Boulevard, walked over to Arthur Services, and I'm not kidding you. Every one of us is 10 of us. By the time we got to Arthur Services, everybody was high because we made the first block. We hit the corner. There's a bunch of people standing there. Everybody's smoking, and we're in the middle of them. I mean, everybody's smoking.
So it's legal to just stand on the street and smoke?
Fuck yeah, you can smoke anywhere. They don't care.
It's legal. You're not allowed to do that in D.C. You have to be on private property. You can't walk down the street and smoke.
Yeah, but it's in California. It's like fully legal.
It's fully declaration. Yeah, and this is what's really weird. So I'm staying at the hotel. My whole floor smells like pot. This is a non-smoking hotel. Okay.
Yeah.
So I asked the manager.
But you don't have to smoke it for the hotel to smell like it.
Well, no. So wait. So I asked the manager about it. He said, "Oh no." He said they can smoke marijuana. It doesn't cause cancer. He said cigarettes not allowed here though. And I looked at him like I said, "Okay." I said, I didn't know what to tell him, and because I said, "Dude, can you put me in another floor? I don't want to smell like pot all the time because the floor reeked, man." They was like partying, and which I'm not hating. Party all you want. I don't care. But I was there for business. I wasn't there for, playtime.
Yeah.
If I was there for playtime, I wouldn't have cared because we stopped. So when I took Chris and the 2 guys out, the year before last, we walked into this bar and we sit down and I'm talking to the bartender. I said, "Hey, I'm from New Orleans. He's from Australia. These 2 are from the UK." And we're sitting there. So he starts telling everybody in the bar. And I'm not shitting. There's drink after drink after drink after drink coming. Next thing I see is bud after bud after bud after bud coming. There must have been at one point a half ounce of more weed on the table. I was like, dude, I said, I don't think anybody here smokes like that. He's, just take it with y'all, man. Shit's free down here. I'm like, wait, what? I was laughing so hard. And then he said, oh, well, wait. So then the bartender comes over with a hookah. He said, y'all should all just hookah on this, man. So the 2 UK guys are, I was like, y'all okay? It looked like they quit breathing for a minute. I was like, I said, "Are y'all all right, man? Come on. Don't die on me." He said, "John will never forgive me." I swear. And then Chris got loaded up. But I was doing driving, so I was like, "No, sorry, guys." But I mean, everybody was buying us booze. Everybody was really nice. I mean, everywhere we went, everybody was super nice. And especially when they found out where we were from, everybody's just really nice. Everybody wanted to give you something, which bothered me. But, hey, I'd never actually, last time I had partied in Cali, God, I wasn't even married. That's how long ago that was. It was a long time ago, but I had a good time. And the only thing I don't like about LA is that, on the weekdays, you can't get booze after 12 and on the weekends, you can't get it after 2. I'm like, what the hell is this? I mean, you can buy beer, you can buy booze in Louisiana in a convenience store all night long, much less go to a bar.
There are some of those Bible Belt laws. Savannah, Georgia, you can't buy beer in the liquor stores or beer stores on Sunday. So if you're going to have a Super Bowl party, you got to buy on Saturday or Friday before. My friends and I, when we were in college, we played Dungeons and Dragons every Sunday. So we had to make sure we bought our booze the night before. You didn't have anything for the game. And if you own a restaurant in Savannah, in order for you to sell beer and wine on Sundays, you have to have food that's 51% of your sales every Sunday, or they take your beer license away.
Well, you see, that's funny because in Louisiana and Metairie and New Orleans, you can't serve alcohol anymore without serving food. All bars have to serve some type of food. It's just one of the things. And what's happened is there's some really good late night hamburger and steak joints. Of course, you don't really know if you've been drinking all night. It's just good to eat the damn 3 and 3:30 in the morning. There was a place, Gino's, we used to go. We'd be out partying all night, and they had po' boy. So we'd stop in around 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, get a po' boy, and then go down to a place called Aliens or Southsides and party there until noon. And noon they would feed you when you were in the bar. They'd feed you breakfast in the bar, and you'd walk out the bar. Your eyes are just you hit the sunlight. You're like, Jesus, what time is it? But that's New Orleans. It's how you party down here. It's not.
We had this
when I'm traveling, I'm like, what?
You got to
Oh,
hear
yeah.
this. You like this? There's in Savannah. We had a restaurant open up specifically to grab bar traffic, and it was like a breakfast and lunch menu, but they didn't open till like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and they closed at like 4 or 5 in the morning. And the bulk of their traffic though was the bars closed at 3 o'clock in the morning, so you could drink until about 2:30. When they called the last call, get your last beverage, and then everyone would cork down their last beverage for that last 30 minutes. And it was 3 blocks from the bar I hung out at, so I didn't have to drive to it. I could just walk down the street to it. And they had the best omelet you could ever get in your life. I mean, it was like it was a 2-meal omelet. It was so huge. That guy was a genius. That's the best thing to do. And they didn't sell liquor or beer. They just were selling to people who were drunk on liquor and beer.
Yeah, no, that's what Gino's did. You could only get a Coke, and you can only get food. Now there was a bar right next door, but it was now Tennessee was different. You had to buy liquor at a liquor store and bring it in the club with you.
Yeah,
weird. It was weird. It was weird. I'm like, what do you mean? She says, so they would sell you a pitcher of Coke for like $15 at the bar. I'm not shitting you, but you could go next door to the liquor store and get a fifth of bourbon for like $5. I'm like, what? I was confused, man. I was just like, I said, I'm from New Orleans. This shit don't
get
make any
this.
sense
In Hilton Head, you go to the bar and you ask for a shot of whatever liquor, and they give you a little airplane-sized 50 ml bottle. That's your shot. You ask for a double shot, they open up 2, the little 50 ml. That's how the bars work. The bars don't buy. They don't have bottles behind the bar. It's every liquor is a 50 ml nip. And if you go to the liquor store, you have 2 choices of size. You can buy a 6-pack of the 50 mils of your favorite liquor, or you can buy a liter. And that's it. There's no fifth.
Lord, man, these people down here would have a riot.
That's it. Those are the choices.
I mean, they buy
a 6-pack or a liter.
Well, you can get anything from a little one all the way up to like a gallon if you want.
Oh, yeah.
Fifth is standard down here, but I mean, they don't care. And I'm telling you, it's inconvenience. So when my friends come in from other states and we're in a convenience, says, "Joe, they sell liquor in a convenience?" Yeah, they sell liquor. I say, fucking liquor everywhere down here, man. I said, this is a drunk ass state, dude. I said, pay attention.
You can walk from bar to bar with a non-breakable container in both Savannah and New Orleans.
Down here.
Adult beverage. So yeah, it's a drinking culture.
You can drive up to the daiquiri shop, go through the drive-through, get your daiquiri, and go on about your business. You can actually drive up to the bar place and get your liquor. And in Mississippi, they got a place called the Barn. You can drive in and get your liquor and get your cigarettes and all right there, and drive on out on your way.
Ohio has brew-throughs. You can drive up and get it. I don't think you can get liquor, but you can get beer and wine, cigarettes.
But it amazes me
through the drive-through.
Because I get a big White Russian. I get the big monster size, the 32 ounce with like 2 shots of Everclear in it. And then I just put it in a car and drive. Now, granted, I mean, there's already 151 in it to start off with, but I guess because it takes a long time to drink one of them, because they're cold as hell. I don't know how it's legal, and the cops don't care. And as long as the lid's on it with a starter and kept there's a straw in it, as long as you have the lid on it, it's sitting in a container, and you don't smell like, they don't give a shit.
Yeah, they're not going to check unless you smell like alcohol.
They're
you still have Wet Willie's down there in Louisiana?
Somewhere they got one. I think they got one in Baton Rouge. No, Jimmy, we got to go, man. It's past my bedtime. No, we stayed late because we started late.
Oh yeah, we're almost half an hour.
Sean was bad tonight, and we had to start late. But what can I tell you? He's actually part Martian. There's an old TV show from way back. My Uncle Marty or something. He was a Martian.
My favorite Martian.
Yeah, my favorite Martian. There you go.
His name was Uncle Marty.
It's the same guy. It's the same guy that plays Mr. Hand in Fast.
Yeah, Mr. Hand. Mr. Hand, you did.
Yeah, Mr. Hand. Decided to order pizza since it's our time.
Yeah,
Jeffrey, I haven't seen. You mean Saturday Night Live? I couldn't tell you the last time I watched a Saturday night. It got a little lefty there.
Watching it years ago. God, the only guy who's funny on there is that Kel guy, that black fella, and everyone else sucks.
Yes, horrible. I remember Land Shark. Land Shark was retarded, but I remember it. Yes, land shark. I remember all that stuff. I remember,
Chevy
but that's
Chase,
back
I
when.
believe, was land shark.
Yeah, and that's when Belushi and them were there. That's a whole different. They haven't
That's
had
the
a
not
crew
ready
like
for
that
primetime
since.
players. That's the original grouping.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys were
Yeah,
awesome.
that's a whole different thing. They've had some good groups, and on it's just lately in the last 10 or 15 years they seem to be very politically orientated to the left. Again, I don't want to watch it. I don't
It's
care.
not funny.
If you want to pick on
go.
like Hillary and Trump together, put them in a scene kissing
Right.
each other, see, that would be funny. But just hating on Trump, now that's I can see that anyway. I can turn on CNN and watch that. I mean, come on. And it'd probably actually be funny than what they were. But we got to go, guys. It's past my bedtime. I'm tired. I've been up since like 4 a.m. Oh man, my last few days have been busy as shit in hell. But no, I'll be here tomorrow. I'm on the author's quill. I forgot who's with us tomorrow. Dan. Oh, I forgot his name now. Oh no, Zach B's with us on tomorrow. Zachaby's on with us tomorrow. So y'all come check him out, and we'll see what happens. What do you mean? Why ain't there no girl authors? What are you talking about?
What?
We haven't had any on the author's quill. Okay, well, I'll get Carmen.
I mean,
on that,
people know that they represent like 90% of the publishing industry, right? Like,
yeah.
Let's be honest here.
I know. It's just you see, yeah. They want to put it on.
One of those female authors, Nora Roberts, owns an entire town in Maryland called Boonesboro. I mean, she's like the town mayor. She owns the hotel and the convention center and like 3 restaurants. So.
Yeah, but what I'm talking about is management. Like management,
it's
like 90% of the industry.
Editors, managers, all of that.
But you don't hear that. You don't hear any of that. Never spoken about, right?
Because they don't want them evil women. They don't want to know that they're evil.
It's inconvenient. It's an inconvenient fact. It's an inconvenient fact.
It is. It's what is that, Jerry? I'll tell you this, and this real quick. For Writers of the Future, what I've noticed is the majority of authors that win are male. There are females, but the majority are male. But the majority of illustrators that win are female. And they're younger. So the majority of authors are usually 33 plus. There's some younger, but the majority of them are usually in the 34, 35, 36 range. I don't know why.
Joe, but I bet you if you asked author services for statistics, I bet you if you looked at the ratio of males to females that submit, I bet you it's, if it's like, I'm just making things up, but if it's like a 6-to-1 or 3-to-1 men to women winning, it's probably 10-to-1 males submitting to every female.
Yeah, more than
it probably is too. When I'm there, I'll see the other Joni. I'll ask her this year while I'm there. I'm going to ask her if she can get
I bet you the success rate of women is probably better because just in general, on average, they're less likely to take risks than men. Men will just submit anything, right?
Yeah.
So
guys, I'm going to win,
which is probably why they're more successful in terms of winning if I had to guess, that's what I would think where the
that's a pretty good, probably in a pretty good range. Jerry, no. Well, the authors that submit tend to be more exverted than inverted, and the illustrators that win tend to be more inverted. So just to put this in perspective, when I do interviews with authors there, they tend to last 30 to an hour and a half. When I do interviews with illustrators, it's 15 minutes to 30 minutes. It's about the max. Now, when you get into the judges that flip-flops, the illustrated judges seem to be much more exverted than the judges for the authors. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but I've hung out with all of them, and it just seems to be the way it is. I have no idea what it means. I'm just telling you what's going on, it's just Sean was just kind of going over some of the facts. But we got to go. It's past my bedtime. Plus, I'm hungry, and it's past my bedtime, and I got a big Brooklyn ass pizza sitting in the kitchen that I'm gonna go pop in the broiler in a minute.
I'm gonna go get me some bacon and lettuce and tomato sandwiches.
Yeah, I won't even be to bed for like another 5 hours, people. Jesus, it's a weekend. I don't go to bed early. No, we got to go. Sean's got a wife, which I'm surprised she didn't come snatching by his hair yet and say, bitch, why ain't you in the bedroom by now? Yeah, so every night you see his head do that. So you got to kind of wonder, what's back there, man? No, when I first started doing radio, my son was young. And he used to like come sneak in the room and grab me by the beard and pull my face over to the side, which he thought was cute, by the way. I'm like, dude, stop it. And he'd jump on my lap. And then, he didn't get the cat for backup. But, it wasn't wasn't as much video back then as there is today. Oh, real funny story real quick. I'm in getting my pizza and I see they got Roku on their TV. So I said, can I see your remote for a minute? She said, yes. So I put the channel on. I said, there you go. Here's some good stuff to watch. It was still on when I left. Matter of fact, y'all were on, I think. You and Jeffrey were. Oh, no, Jeffrey and Wham was on. That's who was on. Wham, man. Yes, y'all can go see Wham. But anyway, you'll see the other Sean here soon enough. He'll be in February, but he's on his show and causing just freaking. He's always welcoming. We're going to invite him every week. So when he's here, he's here. When he's not, he's not. You know how to host rotate on this show. So you never know. But we got to go. Everybody, good night. Good night. Sean, like I said, Jay's here with Jeffrey. Y'all can see him. He's coming in with me and Jeffrey. And what do you mean? Who on UFO Paranormal? Oh, you mean Sean? Sean, I've never had you on UFO Paranormal, have you?
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
I thought him, because we had a good old conversation. Oh,
yeah.
Well, you should have said that in the beginning, doofus ass. So you're acting like, so you've seen this show. You're such an ass. Anyway, we're going to get out of here. Go watch it again. No, I'll bring him back on in a couple months. Well, once he gets settled into his show, I'm going to have him do the rounds on the network so he can help get his audience up faster. Well, it's easier when you hit different shows, like she can go harass Michelle.
Mm-hmm. Anything to keep the heat off of Joe's back.
Yeah. No, Michelle's my favorite person, but no, there's lots of good. I think there's 32 hosts on the network right now, so there's lots of shows to go to, and there's like science and the paranormal, which both these have PhDs, so it's interesting to listen to them talk. Sometimes I'm thinking I need to do some more research. Got a couple of bachelors on the network, got a couple of PhDs on the network, but that really doesn't matter. You can have all the degrees you want. You're either a host or you're not. I can be totally. I have seen hosts with basically no education be fabulous. As a matter of fact, some of them are even famous these days. And I've seen some with PhDs and all kind of education that couldn't even figure out how to work StreamYard. I said, so, it varies. It's a skill. It's all it is. It's like any other skill. It's just a skill. And you got the gift for gab or you don't. Or you can learn it. Yeah, you can learn it. Anyway, Bubbles, we're out of here. Good night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to United Public Radio. Y'all stay out of trouble this weekend. I know it's freezing in most of the country again this weekend. So let's just stay warm and snuggly. And, January is always a good month for making what? Babies. On that note, I will see y'all tomorrow. Good night, everyone. And stay tuned for Spaced Out Radio with the incredible, insane Scott